Dual Cultivation audiobook by Kevin chapter 626. Do you think the sect master is only playing with us? Immediately after Su Yang ended his sentence, the disciples started running around the entire outer court in search of the 3 rocks hidden by Su Yang that could potentially change their life forever. I cannot believe you would use this kind of method to pick whoever gets to cultivate in the celestial pond. I will never get used to being shocked by you at this rate. Liu Lanjai said with a bittersweet smile on her face. Life is not always about choices, as there are moments where you can only rely on fate, Su Yang responded with a calm expression. Anyway, you have 2 hours to get ready for our journey to the Zai family. I will stay here. Su Yang then said to her. I will leave it to you, she nodded before leaving him alone. Once Liu Lanjai was gone, Su Yang sat down and began to cultivate in silence. Meanwhile, the disciples that refused to participate returned to their own business, allowing the other disciples more room to run around. The cafeteria, the library, any open areas, in between the cracks on the floor the disciples searched every nook and cranny their eyes gazed upon in the outer court. However, even after 30 minutes of searching, none of the disciples have returned to Su Yang with the rock in their hands. The disciples even began to wonder if Su Yang really hid the rocks in the first place. Do you think the sect master is only playing with us and he doesn't want anybody to cultivate in the celestial pond? One of the disciples asked the others. Why would he do that? That makes no sense, said another disciple. Yes, but the sect master's entire existence doesn't make sense, so. While the group of disciples was chatting with each other, someone suddenly shouted in an excited voice, I found it! I found one! What? The disciples around this person immediately turned their heads to look at the lucky disciple who'd managed to find the first rock. Where did you find it, junior sister Chen? The disciples quickly surrounded her and bombarded her with questions. How could you possibly find it here? I had searched through this spot over a dozen times and I didn't find anything. One of the disciples exclaimed, voicing his doubts. It's true. It was right here, Disciple Chen said as she pointed at the floor right beside her. The other disciples looked at her with frowns on their faces. Are you making fun of us, junior sister? If the rock was laying out in the open on the floor, why didn't the other disciples see it when they searched this place before you? Even someone visually impaired wouldn't miss it. That's right. I walked through this exact spot just a minute ago and I didn't see the rock on the floor. Faced with so many doubtful gazes, the female disciple could only show a puzzled expression on her face as she had no reason to lie to them. I am not lying. I really found it here. If you don't believe me, then don't. I am going to the sect master right now, Disciple Chen said before she pushed the crowd away and ran to Su Yang. The other disciples decided to follow her to see whether she really found the real rock or was only faking it. Sect master, I found one of the rocks. Disciple Chen ran up to him with her hand waving in the air. Hearing her voice, Su Yang opened his eyes to see a cute young lady standing before him with an ordinary-looking rock on her palms. Su Yang took the rock off her hands and looked at the word Su engraved onto it. Where did you find this? He asked her with a mysterious smile on his face. Right outside the cafeteria, sect master, she said with a nervous face as she was worried that he might not believe her because of what the other disciples had said to her. I see, okay, you pass, Su Yang said to her a moment later, dumbfound her and the other disciples. What is going on, sect master? How come we didn't see any rock at where she found it when we searched? This doesn't make any sense. One of the disciples there decided to ask him, like I'd said from the beginning. Your fate will determine whether you are destined to find the rock or not. I don't know how else to explain it to you. Su Yang shrugged his shoulders, leaving the disciples speechless. However, it was not as though they could argue with him, the sect master. Thus, they swallowed their anger and returned to looking for the remaining 2 rocks. Are you curious, or should I say puzzled why only you'd found the rock when the others couldn't? Su Yang asked her after the other disciples left. Yes, sect master. She quickly nodded her head in response. The rock was in plain sight when I found it, but the other disciples did not believe me, she explained to him. That's because I had hidden the rocks inside a concealment formation that would reveal itself at random times for only a brief moment, and you'd happen to see it when that happened. Like I'd said, it was pure coincidence that you found it, it was fate. Su Yang explained to her with a smile on his face. A concealment formation. No wonder why the other disciples didn't see it. Disciple Chen sighed in relief after realizing the truth. Anyway, you have a little over an hour to prepare for the journey, Su Yang said to her a moment later. Come back here once you're done with your preparations. Yes, sect master. The disciple bowed to him before running back to her home to prepare for the journey. Once Disciple Chen left the scene, Su Yang closed his eyes again and returned to cultivating in silence. Meanwhile, the other disciples continued to search for the rocks like rats, squeezing into every nook and cranny in search of food. Chapter 627. Visiting the Zai family, an entire hour has passed since Su Yang made the disciples run around the sect looking for rocks that were hidden inside concealment formations that could only be found by chance. Sect Master, I have found one of the rocks. Another disciple approached him a few minutes after the hour mark. Let me see the rock, said Su Yang as he looked at the young lady with a graceful appearance before him. The disciple nodded and handed him the rock. Once he saw his name on the rock, he nodded and said, You have an hour to prepare for the journey. Come back here afterward. Yes, sect master. The disciple nodded before leaving the scene. One left, huh? Su Yang mumbled to himself before closing his eyes again, silently waiting for the last disciple to appear. However, nobody else approached him even after 30 minutes of waiting. How is the search going? How many disciples have found the rocks? Liu Lanjai asked him after returning to his side sometime later. 2, he calmly responded. Only 2, and how much time do they have left? A little less than 10 minutes, he said. After a moment of silence, Liu Lanjai asked him, Are you really going to bring only those who found the rock to the Zai family? It would be a waste to not use all 3 spots. Don't worry, there won't be any empty spots even if the last rock is not found, he said to her with a calm face. Who do you plan on bringing? She asked him with interest. Someone who could take full advantage of the celestial pond, he casually responded. What? If there's someone like that, why are you doing this? Now Liu Lanjai was puzzled by his actions. Although it will greatly benefit her, she doesn't really need it, and it'll be like feeding a fat pig with even more food. I still don't get it. Liu Lanjai shook her head inwardly. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye, and nobody else approached Su Yang with the last rock during this time. All of you can stop searching for the last rock now. Su Yang took out a communication jade slip and said to the disciples, 2 hours have passed, and it seems that only 2 of you were destined to cultivate in the celestial pond. It's unfortunate, but the cultivation world requires more luck than you think. When the disciples that did not find the rocks heard Su Yang's words, they all sighed with dispirited expressions on their faces before returning home with a defeated feeling surrounding them. Meanwhile, the 2 female disciples that found the rock returned to Su Yang's side with blissful expressions on their faces. They're both female disciples. Liu Lanjai raised her eyebrows after seeing these 2 beauties, and she wondered if Su Yang had purposefully rigged the event just so these 2 could cultivate in the celestial pond. However, after thinking about Su Yang's character, it was unlikely that he would do something like this, so Liu Lanjai decided to think of it as pure coincidence. Are the 2 of you ready to leave? Su Yang asked the 2 disciples. Yes, sect master, they both nodded. The disciple with the cute and pretty face belonged to the Dual Cultivation division, whilst the other disciple with the graceful atmosphere belonged to the Normal Cultivation division. Then let's head to the Zai family. Su Yang then tossed the flying boat into the air and jumped onto it. What are you waiting for? "Get on the boat," he said to them when they remained standing there with dumbfounded expressions on their faces, as this is their first time riding on a flying treasure. A few moments later, once they were on the flying boat, Su Yang said to them, "Hang on to me." The disciples nodded their heads and grabbed his robes whilst Liu Lanjai directly embraced him with one of her arms. Once they were prepared, Su Yang commanded the flying boat to soar towards Snowfall City. "Ah!" the disciples screamed at the top of their lungs when they experienced the flying boat's ridiculous speed, their expressions filled with fear, and they immediately went to tightly embrace Su Yang's body. As for Liu Lanjai, although she didn't scream like the disciples, she also embraced Su Yang with all of her strength, fearing that she might accidentally fall from the flying boat. A few horrifying minutes later, the flying boat stopped moving once they reached the Zai family's household. "You can let go now," Su Yang said to the three ladies that did not realize they had reached their destination and continued embracing him like three koalas on a tree. "We're here already." Liu Lanjai looked beneath them with wide eyes filled with shock. "Yes, so you can stop squeezing me to death now," he said with a smile on his face. "Oh, I'm sorry." Liu Lanjai quickly released her death grip on him. The disciples also apologized to him afterward. "Let's descend," he said to them sometime later. Meanwhile, inside the Zai family's household, Lord Zai was silently cultivating inside his room when a loud voice resounded in the room, startling him awake. "Wake up! Su Yang is here." Zai Wang's voice boomed. "Father, what do you mean he's already here? We sent the letter not long ago," Lord Zai shouted in an annoyed voice. "Did I stutter or something? Hurry up and greet them. I will be there shortly." Zai Wang's voice resounded again, sounding even more annoyed than Lord Zai. "Why yes, father." Hearing his father's angry voice, Lord Zai had no choice but to stop his cultivation to greet Su Yang. Sometime later, Lord Zai opened the front door to see Liu Lanjai and two other young ladies with her. However, Su Yang was not there with them. "Where's Su Yang?" he asked them. "Liu Lanjai greets His Majesty." She hastily bowed to him, as she did not expect him to appear so suddenly. "Su Yang had to return to the sect to bring our third disciple here and should return here shortly," she then said to him. Chapter 628 Zai Family S Apology. "I see. Anyway, come inside." Lord Zai opened the door wide and welcomed them inside with a warm smile on his face. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Please, just call me Senior Zai when you are here. I was the one who invited you here for dinner after all," Lord Zai said to them. Liu Lanjai and the disciples were speechless, as they would have never imagined that the day would come where they could address the ruler of the Eastern continent so casually. It was truly a dreamlike miracle. Sometime later, as Lord Zai led them into the building, Zai Xingfang could be seen running towards them from the end of the hall with an excited expression on her face. "Welcome to our humble home, Su." However, the excitement on her face instantly disappeared when she didn't see Su Yang amongst them. "Where's Su Yang? Did he not come here with you?" she asked them with a slightly dazed face. "Greetings, Your Highness. Su Yang came here with us, but he had to return to the Profound Blossom Sect to pick up the last member." Liu Lanjai bowed to her. "You can just call me Zinger like everyone else in this place, Senior Liu." "I don't dare." Liu Lanjai quickly shook her head. "It's fine, really. In fact, I still haven't expressed my gratitude to you for the hospitality at the Profound Blossom Sect." Zai Xingfeng then gracefully bowed towards her and spoke in a clear tone. "Thank you for letting my grandfather and I stay at the Profound Blossom Sect. It was a lifesaver, literally." "You are exaggerating." Liu Lanjai showed a humble yet stiff smile on her face, as it simply felt very weird for the Zai family to be treating her as though they were friends when they've barely interacted with each other. "Father, allow me to show the guests their room," Zai Xingfeng said to him. "Go ahead. I will have the servants prepare some tea for you." He nodded before walking away. "Come with me," Zai Xingfeng said to the three of them afterward. Sometime later, They entered a luxurious room that was filled with so many shiny decorations that it had briefly blinded their vision. Your Highness, although this is not even close to being enough to fully express my gratitude to the Zai family for inviting us over, I hope you may find some use for it. Liu Lanjai suddenly retrieved a storage pouch from her storage ring and offered it to Zai Xingfeng. However, Zai Xingfeng merely stared at the storage pouch with a silent gaze. A few seconds later, she shook her head and spoke. I cannot accept that, Senior Liu. Why not? Liu Lanjai looked at her with wide eyes. Even if they didn't need it, one would normally accept the gift as a gesture of respect and acceptance. Because I also have a small gift for you. Zai Xingfeng also retrieved a storage pouch from her robes and showed it to Liu Lanjai. The Zai family hasn't done anything worthy of your gift. In fact, we have been doing the opposite by causing trouble for the Profound Blossom Sect constantly. Zai Xingfeng suddenly lowered her head and apologized to her. On behalf of the Zai family, I am sorry for everything that has happened. If only we were more involved with the outside world, perhaps the Million Snakes sect would have never bothered you. Please raise your head, Your Highness. Liu Lanjai panicked when Zai Xingfeng lowered her head, as her actions were akin to lowering her own status. Luckily for them, they were inside a private room and only 2 other people saw it. If Zai Xingfeng had lowered her head in public, it would have definitely caused a commotion. You cannot blame yourself for what happened between the Profound Blossom Sect and the Million Snakes sect, as they are the ones who are at fault. Liu Lanjai then said to her. No, it is exactly because my family had nothing to do with the Million Snakes sect that allowed them to go on a rampage. We should have intervened when we first heard about it, but we did not do anything, giving them the impression that we approve of their actions, said Zai Xingfeng. And she continued, although this offering will not bring back the disciples who left the sect or change what had happened and erase the pain you'd felt, I hope that you could accept it, or I will not be able to sleep peacefully again. Liu Lanjai was rendered speechless by Zai Xingfeng's genuine sincerity. A few moments later, Liu Lanjai eventually nodded her head and accepted Zai Xingfeng's storage pouch. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Liu Lanjai bowed to her afterward. No, I should be the one thanking you, Senior Liu, so thank you. Zai Xingfeng responded with her own bow. And please call me Zinger. Meanwhile, the 2 disciples in the same room felt extremely out of place, almost like 2 beggars who'd accidentally walked into a fancy meeting. Anyway, you ladies can use this room as you please while we wait for Su Yang to return, Zai Xingfeng said to them sometime later. The tea should also be here soon. Thank you, Your R, Liu Lanjai said in a stiff voice. You'll get used to it. Zai Xingfeng smiled at her before leaving the room shortly later. That was nerve-wracking. Liu Lanjai sat on the large couch behind her with an exhausted face, completely ignoring the 2 disciples in the room. Are you okay, Sect Master? Disciple Chen asked her a moment later. Yes, it's just that I have never spoken with the Zai family for so long at once. Hell, this is my first time actually speaking with them so casually. It just feels so weird, she sighed. The disciples silently nodded their heads, and they understood her feelings even though they didn't have to speak with the Zai family. Su Yang, please come back soon. I don't think I will be able to handle the Zai family by myself. Liu Lanjai cried inwardly. Chapter 629, the most talented disciple in the Profound Blossom Sect, after dropping Liu Lanjai and the disciples off at the Zai family's front door. Su Yang returned to the Profound Blossom Sect to look for a certain disciple. Once he descended from the sky and landed in front of a building that was not too far away from the Yin-Yang Pavilion, he knocked on the door. A few moments later, the door opened, and a cute little girl appeared before him. Master, Yan Yan greeted him with a bow. How have you been doing with your cultivation, Yan Yan? He asked her with a friendly smile. Very good, Master. I reached the 7th level Earth Spirit realm just yesterday, and my understanding of the cultivation technique is also improving every day. That's good to hear. Anyway, I am here for one thing. Su Yang then looked at her with a serious gaze and spoke. I want you to cultivate in the celestial pond. With your divine body, you'll definitely break through to the heavenly spirit realm by the time you come out in 7 days. Celestial pond. Yan Yan looked at him with a puzzled face. Oh, right. You weren't there when I explained it. The celestial pond is a treasure that will improve your cultivation speed by 100 times if you cultivate inside, and you can only do so once every 100 years. It's not something you can do every day. Master wants me to cultivate there, she asked him. That's right. It'll only be for 7 days and I'll be there with you. Okay. Seeing no reason to refuse, Yan Yan nodded her head. Good, come with me. Su Yang then carried Yan Yan onto the flying boat and flew back to Snowfall City. Just like most people during their first ride on the flying boat, Yan Yan feared for her life and immediately hugged Su Yang with her entire body. A few minutes later, they arrived at the Zai family's household. Welcome to our home, Su Yang, Zai Wang said to him before he could even leave the flying boat. Su Yang nodded and said, Are the others inside? Yes. They are all waiting for you inside. Zai Wang then noticed the little hugging Su Yang's legs. His eyes widened when he realized that she was at the 7th level Earth Spirit realm. Is this young girl the genius with that divine body that only recently joined the Profound Blossom Sect? I thought she was only at the 5th level Earth Spirit realm, Zai Wang asked Su Yang. Yes, she was, Su Yang said with a smile on his face. Then you are telling me that she actually managed to raise 2 whole levels in just a few weeks. What kind of monstrous talent does she have? Zai Wang spoke with an envious gaze. If the Zai family had a genius like her, their power would immensely increase. Master is a good teacher, Yan Yan said to Zai Wang with a calm face. Ho, you can look at me in the eyes without trembling. That too is quite rare, especially since you are still so young, Zai Wang nodded with approval. Because of his sovereign spirit realm cultivation base, he would naturally emit a suppressing aura, and it was not something people with a weak mind or low cultivation can withstand, hence why he rarely appears in public. Anyway, let's continue our conversation inside with some tea. It's the Zai family's turn to show you our hospitality, Zai Wang said to them before leading them inside and where Liu Lanjai and the others were waiting. Su Yang, you are finally here. Liu Lanjai nearly burst out crying after seeing his face, as she was at her limit from dealing with the Zai family. Su Yang, welcome to our humble home again. Zai Xingfeng placed her tea down and stood up to bow to him elegantly. Su Yang nodded and said, Thank you for having us. Sometime later, once they were all settled down with some tea in their hands, Zai Xingfeng said while looking at Yan Yan with wide eyes, She's already at the 7th level Earth Spirit realm. If I recall correctly, she was only at the 5th level during the entrance exam not long ago. Yes, she's quite the talented one after all, Su Yang said with a smile. So you were thinking about Disciple Yan this entire time, huh? Liu Lanjai finally understood Su Yang's words from before. Yan Yan is, without doubt, the most talented disciple in Profound Blossom Sect's history, not including Su Yang, as he was basically cheating with his immortal background. If anyone should cultivate in the celestial pond, it should be Yan Yan. Do you plan on making her cultivate in the celestial pond? I cannot imagine how much her cultivation will grow afterward. Zai Xingfeng spoke in a slightly nervous tone. If Yan Yan could already cultivate 100 times faster than even the top geniuses of this world, what will happen once she cultivates in the celestial pond? It would not shock them at all even if she enters the heavenly spirit realm afterward. I also cannot wait for the results, Zai Wang nodded as he looked at Yan Yan with fascination, as he has never seen anyone like her before. What about you, Su Yang? I'd expected you to cultivate in the celestial pond too. Why are you giving it up? Zai Wang suddenly asked him. Hearing his question, Su Yang spoke with a calm smile on his face. Because my disciples take priority over me, and as a dual cultivator, the celestial pond will only benefit me if I had a partner with me. The room instantly turned silent as the people there imagined Su Yang cultivating with the others inside the celestial pond, staining the holy water with his bodily liquid. Seeing the awkward atmosphere in the room, Su Yang spoke. Anyway, ignoring my situation, let's talk about Zinger's conditions. How has your body been faring lately? Do you feel any pain in your body yet? Chapter 630. Starting to feel the symptoms. Hearing Su Yang's question, a worried expression appeared on Zai Xingfang's face, and she spoke in a low voice. As much as I want to say that everything is perfectly fine, I think my body is finally starting to feel the effects of the poison. Can you explain it in more detail? Su Yang asked her. Zai Xingfang nodded and said, it started a few days after I returned home from the Profound Blossom Sect, and although it was not noticeable at first, I can feel my body temperature getting slightly warmer every day. Let me see your hands. Su Yang placed his tea down and walked to her. Zai Xingfang offered her hand to him a few moments later. Su Yang closed his eyes as he inspected her body with his spiritual sense. What's wrong, Su Yang? Is it something serious? Lord Zai asked him after seeing the frown on his face. No, not yet. Su Yang shook his head. What do you mean by that? Zai Wang asked him with an anxious expression on his face. It's nothing serious now, but she is starting to feel the symptoms, and it will only continue to worsen from this point. Furthermore, she's experiencing the symptoms a little earlier than I'd expected. If this continues, she might have less time than we thought. The entire room turned silent after hearing Su Yang's words. Few moments later, Liu Lanjai spoke in a puzzled voice. What is happening? Are you sick or something, Zinger? Zai Xingfeng turned to look at Su Yang, who nodded his head. Seeing his approval, Zai Xingfeng explained the situation to her. Due to my ignorance, I'd poisoned myself during my training, and I will die if it's not cured soon. What? You'll die? It's that serious? Liu Lanjai exclaimed in shock, as did the other disciples. What about a cure? Do you know how to cure it? She quickly asked. Zai Xingfeng nodded and said, yes, we know how to cure it, and we even have the prescription for it. However, we do not have the ingredients for the cure yet, as we are still waiting for 2 of them. Speaking of the ingredients, the devil blood ginseng should be mature now so we can harvest it. Su Yang suddenly said. Really? Then what are we waiting for? Lord Zai immediately said. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, I can get the devil blood ginseng at any time, but even if we have it, we cannot cure her without the other ingredient, the purple killin's blood. He then looked at Zai Wang and asked him, do you have the ingredients ready for the poison immunity pill I spoke about before? Zai Wang remained silent with a dispirited expression on his face, causing Su Yang to frown. You don't have the ingredients. Unfortunately, we are missing one ingredient from the list, the 4-element roots. Zai Wang sighed. I have looked everywhere for it, and there's a good chance that it doesn't exist in this world. Why do you look as though there's no hope left? Su Yang suddenly said after seeing his pale face. If it doesn't exist in the eastern continent, we can simply go to the holy central continent to see whether they have it or not. If they don't, I will think of something else. Are you really going to the holy central continent? Lord Zai asked him with disbelief. He nodded and said, I actually wanted to go earlier, but then I remembered that you also wanted to go, so I decided to wait for a little bit longer. Lord Zai was speechless. He didn't think Su Yang would actually keep his words, much less wait for him. So, do you want to go or not? Su Yang asked him a moment later. I do. Lord Zai nodded his head in a hasty manner. See, can I also come too? Zai Wang asked him, looking like a child who was being left behind. Do as you please, said Su Yang. Thank you, Zai Wang said to him with teary eyes. When can we go? Lord Zai asked him. We can leave once they enter the celestial pond. That'll give us 7 days. Good, the celestial pond will be open in 3 days, Lord Zai said. Su Yang nodded, then he looked at Zai Xingfeng and spoke. Don't tell me you are also entering the celestial pond. I can't. Zai Xingfeng looked at him with wide eyes as this was fairly sudden. Even Lord Zai and Zai Wang looked at him with anxious expressions, even feeling a little impatient for his answer. Unless you want to worsen your condition, I wouldn't suggest it. Su Yang then said a moment later. After a moment of silence, Zai Wang sighed loudly. I knew something like this would happen. He slapped his forehead before rubbing his temples in a stressful manner. Is there anything we can do, Su Yang? Missing the celestial pond is no small matter, Lord Zai asked him. Surely there must be something they can do. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, if you don't mind worsening the poison in her body in exchange for some minor improvements in her cultivation, and potentially making the cure pointless, then you can do whatever you want. Don't say I didn't warn you, though. The entire room turned speechless again. Su Yang is right, father. What use are 2 years of cultivation if I die from the poison 2 months later? While it definitely hurts that I cannot enter the celestial pond now, I can simply do it when it opens again the next time. And even if I have to wait 100 years, at least I will still be alive then. Hearing her words, Lord Zai nodded his head and said, I understand. You are right, Zinger. I would rather have you alive and well even if you miss the celestial pond. Chapter 631, offering her service as a woman. Now that Zinger cannot enter the celestial pond, we have one open space. Lord Zai said. He then turned to look at Liu Lanjai and continued to speak. Since that's the case, would you like to cultivate in the celestial pond on her behalf, Sect Master Liu? Me. Liu Lanjai unconsciously pointed at herself with a dumbfounded expression on her face, clearly in disbelief. Lord Zai nodded and said, well, you are the only one here that can enter, and it'll be too bothersome to find someone else at this point. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Senior Zai. Liu Lanjai bowed to him afterward. Don't even mention it, he said with a smile on his face. Sometime later, Zai Wang said, I'm going to prepare for our journey to the holy central continent. Me too. I have a lot of work to do if I want to leave the eastern continent for a few days, Lord Zai said. I will let the servants arrange your rooms. Su Yang nodded and he said, you can just arrange for 3 rooms, one for Disciple Jai and one for Yan Yan. I will stay in the same room with Liu Lanjai and Disciple Chen, as they also have to prepare for the celestial pond. Why would they need any preparations for Lord Zai realized the meaning behind Su Yang's words midway through his sentence, making an awkward face afterward. Okay, 3 rooms then. However, Disciple Jai suddenly said, Your Majesty, just 2 rooms is fine. I will also sleep in the same room as the sect masters. Lord Zai was speechless. Are you sure, Disciple Jai? The only reason we are staying in the same room is because we are dual cultivators and you belong to the other division, Liu Lanjai said to her. Disciple Jai nodded and said, I am well aware of the implications, Sect Master Liu. Even though I am only an ordinary cultivator, I would still like to offer my services to Sect Master Su as a woman who is attracted to him. Lord Zai and Zai Xingfeng could feel their jaws dropping after hearing the disciple's words, and even Liu Lanjai couldn't help but admire her courage. If you say it like that, I can't say no, Su Yang said to her with a calm smile on his face. Thank you, Sect Master. What about me? Yan Yan suddenly spoke up. I also want to sleep in the same room as Master. However, Su Yang quickly said, You are still too young, Yan Yan. Why does my age matter? Yan Yan tilted her head in a puzzled manner. If you don't understand why we are sleeping together, then you are definitely too young to participate, Liu Lanjai said to her. Yan Yan was truly speechless. Aren't they just sleeping together? Why does it matter whether she's an adult or not? If you don't want to sleep alone, you can sleep with me, Zai Xingfeng suddenly suggested to her. Yan Yan looked at Zai Xingfeng with a nonchalant expression before shaking her head. No, I want to sleep with Master. Zai Xingfeng felt as though her pride had just taken a hit when Yan Yan refused her invitation, especially since this is her first time inviting anyone to sleep with her in her own room. Even though Yan Yan is only a little girl, it still felt extremely awkward. I see. Zai Xingfeng could only respond with a stiff smile on her face. How about this, Yan Yan? Su Yang suddenly said to her. You will sleep alone today, but we can sleep together tomorrow. After a moment of pondering, Yan Yan nodded her head. Although she didn't like feeling left out, she also didn't want to become a disobedient disciple, so she could only endure it for today. Thank you, Yan Yan, Su Yang said to her. Sometime later, Zai Xingfeng said to Yan Yan, Come with me, I'll show you to your room. Once Zai Xingfeng and Yan Yan left the room, a beautiful young female servant entered the room to lead Su Yang and the other girls to another room, one that had the largest and sturdiest bed in the entire building. I can't believe that I am actually going to cultivate in the Zai family's household. Liu Lanjai could barely fathom the insane situation they were in. As for the disciples, they were simply too excited about cultivating with Su Yang to think of anything else. If the esteemed guests need anything, this lowly one will be waiting outside, the servant said to them with her head lowered. However, just as the servant turned around, Su Yang's voice resounded, Do you want to join us? Excuse me. The servant turned around with a dumbfounded expression on her face, as did Liu Lanjai and the other disciples. I can see your body fidgeting even now. If you want to join us, I don't mind. The more the merrier after all, Su Yang said with a smile. But I cannot. What's the matter? I thought you said to let you know if we need anything. While that's true, I don't dare to do that sort of thing in His Majesty's dwelling. The servant showed him a bittersweet smile. If Lord Zai learns of her scandalous actions when she's supposed to be doing her job, losing her job would be the least of her worries. You are still doing your job as a servant by serving me. If Lord Zai or anyone has an issue with that, I'll give them a piece of my mind, so you don't need to worry about any punishment. I can promise you that. Really? You are going to do that for me, a mere servant you've never met before? She asked him. Su Yang nodded and spoke with a charming smile on his face. Your status is not relevant. I only see a beautiful woman who's surrounded by a lonely feeling, so I want to help you relieve that stress. Hearing his words, the female servant blushed. One of the requirements for working as a servant for the Zai family is that they must live in the same building to make it more convenient and efficient for their job. And while working for the Zai family may be incredibly rewarding and even make one feel distinguished, it does make them feel lonely most of the time, as the servants would rarely have any free time for themselves, and even when they do get some free time, they would not have the energy to do anything else besides sleep. After a moment of silence, the female servant finally nodded her head in a bashful manner. Come over here, Su Yang said to her. The female servant then locked the door behind her before approaching the bed. This is my first time, young master. The female servant trembled slightly when Su Yang loosened her robes. I will take the lead. Just follow the flow of my movements and enjoy the pleasure. The female servant nodded before Su Yang laid her on the large bed. A few moments later, the female servant began moaning with pleasure while the other girls on the bed watched with a passionate gaze. Chapter 632, A Painful Mistake, tilde. Tilde. The female servant moaned loudly as Su Yang skillfully pleasured her pink flower with his tongue, preparing it for penetration. A few minutes later, when her cave was wet enough, Su Yang inserted his stiff rod into her body, spreading the cave wide open and tearing her insides apart. Ah! The female servant nearly choked on her own saliva from shock when she felt something massive and hard shoved up her virgin cave, feeling as though someone had just shoved their arm up her hole. "Are you okay?" Su Yang asked her in a gentle voice, feeling a tight yet soft sensation wrapped around his entire sword. After taking a moment to recover, she nodded with a painful expression. "It hurts a little, but I am fine." "Then I will start moving now," said Su Yang, and he began moving his hips a few seconds later. Tilda. Although the female servant could only feel pain at first, after just a few thrusts as though a miracle had happened, she could no longer feel any pain, only pleasure. "Ooh! Tilda. Tilda." The female servant moaned without restraint, feeling as though her entire body was on fire. However, the burning feeling was not painful in the slightest. It was, in fact, extremely pleasant and comfortable enough to make her beg him for more. "More? Fuck me more, young master." The female servant looked at him with an enchanted gaze and a lustful expression on her face. A few minutes later, the female servant reached her climax and began twitching like a fish out of the water as her lower body gushed with a river of yin qi. Once the servant calmed down, Su Yang removed his rod from her body, pulling out a slightly reddish meat stick that was dyed by the servant's virgin blood. "Allow this lowly one to clean it for you, young master." The female servant managed to sit up despite her exhaustion, and she began licking Su Yang's meat stick clean a few moments later. Once his sword was sparkling clean again, mostly due to it being coated in saliva, the female servant collapsed onto the bed with a fully satisfied expression on her face, looking as though she was in heaven. You didn't release your yang qi into her?" Liu Lanjai asked him after noticing this fact. "My yang qi would do more harm than good to her, who is not even a cultivator." Su Yang shook his head. "I see." Su Yang then looked at Disciple Jai and asked her, "Do you want to be next?" Disciple Jai immediately nodded and crawled towards him on the bed. "I will loosen you up first," said Su Yang once she was fully naked. "Can I also please you simultaneously?" she suddenly asked him. Su Yang nodded before laying his back on the bed, whilst Disciple Jai climbed above him with her butt facing his face. Once they were in the yin-yang position that was also known as the 69 position, Disciple Jai began sucking on Su Yang's meat stick while he savored her pink slit with his large hands firmly gripped onto her soft and round buttocks. A few minutes of slurping sounds later, Disciple Jai suddenly stopped sucking and spoke in a hasty voice. It's coming out." "You can let it out," Su Yang responded with calmness. While Disciple Jai wanted to ask if he was sure about it, she could not hold on to her climax any longer and released her yin qi, showering Su Yang's face with her holy water. Su Yang closed his eyes and allowed her yin qi to rain on his face with a cool expression, looking like a heroic warrior in the rain after an intense battle. Are you okay, Su Yang?" Disciple Jai asked him afterward with a worried face, afraid that she might have released too much yin qi. "I am perfectly fine," he said as he combed his wet hair backward, even licking the yin qi that was around his lips in an erotic manner. I think I am ready to take it," she said to him a moment later. Su Yang nodded and said, "You can do whatever you want with it." Hearing his words, Disciple Jai looked at the massive rod before her and swallowed in a nervous manner. Will it really fit inside her small hole? After taking a moment to prepare herself, Disciple Jai turned around and squatted above his pelvis area with her cave's entrance touching the very tip of Su Yang's sword. She then used one of her hands to spread apart her pink slit wide open to allow for an easier entrance. And because she just climaxed very recently, there was yin qi still leaking out of her hole, which dripped onto the rod that was right below her cave, making it look as though she was saucing up his meat stick before sticking it inside her lower mouth. Even Liu Lanjai couldn't help but swallow nervously after seeing Su Yang's tasty-looking meat stick. A moment later, Disciple Jai began squatting even lower, until she could feel the hot and hard tip of Su Yang's rod touching the entrance to her cave. Ha! And after taking a deep breath, Disciple Jai began inserting his rod even deeper into her hole. However, because of her nervousness that was causing her legs to become shaky, Disciple Jai suddenly slipped and fell, accidentally shoving his entire rod into her cave in an instant. Ah! Disciple Jai shrieked in pain when she took Su Yang's entire shaft so suddenly and forcefully, feeling as though she just tore an enormous hole down there. Gasped Disciple Chen gasped in shock while Liu Lanjai covered her mouth after witnessing this scene, and even Su Yang couldn't help but become startled by this unexpected event. "Are you okay?" Su Yang asked her a moment later. He could only imagine the pain she was feeling at this moment. Why, yes. Disciple Jai spoke in a suppressed voice with her jaw clenched tightly, clearly trying to hold back from crying out loud. Chapter 633, A Talented Squirter. I am okay. I am really okay. Disciple Jai spoke with teary eyes, looking as though she could cry at any moment. What a resilient young lady. I would have definitely cried my eyes out if I had to take a penis at that size so forcefully as a maiden who's never had any experience before. Liu Lanjai said to herself, praising Disciple Jai inwardly. Let me relieve some of the pain for you. Su Yang then poked her stomach with his index finger that was glowing with a warm light. Very quickly, Disciple Jai could feel the pain below quickly subduing. However, while the pain was disappearing, the blood did not slow down and continued to flow from her cave. "Do you want to stop here today?" Su Yang asked her a moment later. No. She quickly shook her head before speaking. I can handle this. It's just a little pain and blood. It'll eventually stop. Seeing the brave and stubborn expression on her graceful face, Su Yang nodded his head and said, Then you can move at your own pace for now. Once you are feeling more comfortable, I will start moving. Okay. Disciple Jai then inhaled and exhaled deeply a few times before she got back on her feet. Sometime later, she began moving her hips up and down, riding Su Yang's thick rod with stiff yet passionate movements. Pap, pap, pap. Su Yang could feel her soft buttocks slapping against his pelvis area every time she moved. Ha, 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 ha. Disciple Jai moaned in a cute voice as she felt Su Yang's rod stimulating her inner wall with every stroke, causing her flower to drool with love nectar. And many minutes later, when all of her pain was gone, Su Yang grabbed her by the hips and said, I will take care of you from here. Once Disciple Jai nodded her head, Su Yang pulled her body down while thrusting his hip forward. Tilde. Feeling Su Yang's rod reaching the deepest parts of her cave, Disciple Jai screamed in pleasure while her body trembled from bliss. It had taken Su Yang only a single movement to knock her soul into heaven. A moment later, yin qi flowed from Disciple Jai's cave like a waterfall. This is just the beginning, Su Yang said to her, as he continued moving despite the fact that she was still climaxing. Tilde. Disciple Jai's cave squirted yin qi as though it was a broken dam, soaking the wall behind with sparkling liquid. What a talented squirter, Liu Lanjai mumbled in a dazed voice after seeing the way Disciple Jai stained the wall with her yin qi, and it helped her recall her first meeting with Su Yang during the inner court disciple assessment, where she experienced his divine techniques for the first time and squirted everywhere as the result. Oh, this is quite amazing. Even Su Yang praised her squirting ability when she hasn't stopped squirting even many moments later, and it only made him want to test her limits even more. Thus, he continued to thrust his hot rod into her body until she eventually exhausts her last drop of yin qi a few minutes later. You are quite impressive. It makes one wonder why you didn't become a dual cultivator instead, Su Yang said to her afterward. However, Disciple Jai did not respond, as she was simply too exhausted. "Here, let me reward you for enduring so much today." The sword in Disciple Jai's body suddenly began trembling, and a moment later, it released hundreds of millions of tiny warriors into her body. The tiny white warriors then rushed through the battlefield until it could no longer advance, filling every nook and cranny in Disciple Jai's cave. "I feel so full," Disciple Jai mumbled with a dazed expression on her face. Su Yang removed his plug from her hole a moment later, and the tiny white warriors could be seen falling from her cliff. "Maybe we should train her as a dual cultivator instead," Liu Lanjai spoke in a joking tone sometime later. "It'd be a waste if someone talented like her becomes a normal cultivator." Su Yang smiled at her words and said, "Who knows? Maybe she'll voluntarily become a dual cultivator after what she experienced today." Sometime later, Su Yang turned his attention to the other disciple, Disciple Chen. "I am going to fill your body to the brim with my yang qi so that you can cultivate in the celestial pond efficiently," he said to her. "Please take care of me." She nodded with an excited smile on her face, as her little sister has been feeling this hot and tingly sensation for a while now. "Since you are already this wet, we won't need any foreplay, right?" he said to her after seeing that she was already drooling wet when she removed her clothes. "Go ahead, stick it inside me." Disciple Chen laid on the bed with her legs spread wide open. A moment later, Su Yang shoved his rod into her slippery cave with ease. "Ah, Tilda," Disciple Chen moaned with passion, feeling as though she'd entered heaven. Many minutes later, Su Yang released his yang qi into her body, filling her cave until it began leaking from the entrance. However, he did not immediately unplug his shaft from her hole and instead opened his storage ring to take out a piece of talisman. "I am going to seal the yang qi inside you so that you can use it at the celestial pond. Don't remove it or cultivate it until then," he said to her. "Won't I get pregnant if I don't cultivate the yang qi immediately?" Disciple Chen asked him with raised eyebrows, not that she minded conceiving his child. "My yang qi is special." "You'll be fine," he responded with confidence. "I can vouch for his words," Liu Lanjai suddenly said. Su Yang then turned to look at her and said, "It's your turn now." "About time," she nodded with a smile. A moment later, Liu Lanjai removed her clothes, and to Disciple Chen's surprise, there was already a seal on her body. How long have they been doing this? No wonder why Liu Lanjai vouched for him. Chapter 634 Elite Sec. Once it was finally Liu Lanjai's turn to cultivate with Su Yang. She removed her clothes and removed her seal a moment later, letting the yang qi that had been stored inside to leak down her thighs. "There's only a little bit of your yang qi left inside," she said to him. He nodded and said, "Don't worry, I will fill you to the brim later. But before I do that, let's remove the old yang qi." Su Yang began massaging her body with one hand and fingering her wet cave with the other, letting her yin qin flush the yang qi out of her body. A few minutes later, once Liu Lanjai emptied out the yang qi from her body, Su Yang inserted his sword into her pink cave that was twitching from lust and desire. "Ah, Tilda," feeling a massive shaft brushing against her inner walls, Liu Lanjai moaned loudly and her body trembled from pleasure. Pap, pap, pap. Su Yang pounded Liu Lanjai's body as though he was forging a masterpiece with his hammer, causing Liu Lanjai to feel as though her entire body was on fire. "Yes, yes, Tilda, that is the spot. Do it harder, fuck me harder, Su Yang." Liu Lanjai gazed at him with a lustful face, her gaze pleading for more. Pap, pap, pap. The large bed began to shake slightly when Su Yang increased his intensity, and Liu Lanjai's voice also increased in volume and sharpness. Many minutes of cultivation later, Su Yang released his yang qi into Liu Lanjai's cave. "Ah, Tilda. So hot, Tilda." Liu Lanjai felt as though a volcano had erupted inside her stomach, yet it was not painful in the slightest but incredibly pleasant instead, and in just a few moments her stomach was filled with yang qi. Su Yang then retrieved a seal and swiftly sealed her cave entrance without letting even a single drop leak. Wow, this feels even fuller than usual, Liu Lanjai said to him afterward. That's because I actually released more yang qi than usual, filling your stomach until it reached its limits, he said to her. With the celestial pond speeding up your cultivation speed, you'll need more resources than normal. I see, Liu Lanjai nodded with an understanding face. A few minutes later, Su Yang looked at Liu Lanjai and disciple Chen and said, the two of you won't be able to continue because of the seal. He then turned to look at disciple Jai and the female servant. What about you two? We can do as many sessions as you want. I want to do it again. Disciple Jai spoke without hesitation. If possible, this servant would like to continue pleasing the young master, said the female servant with a bashful expression. Su Yang nodded and said, I will keep you both accompanied until you are satisfied. Thus, Su Yang began another session with disciple Jai and the female servant, and they would continue to cultivate until the girls reached their limits and collapsed from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Liu Lanjai and disciple Chen watched with envy, and they regretted sealing their lower mouths so quickly. Seeing this, Su Yang said to them with a smile on his face, if you want to, we can remove your seals so we can cultivate more, and we will reseal them again at the end. You can do that. Why didn't you say so in the beginning? Liu Lanjai wasted no time tearing her seal apart, letting the yang qi in her stomach to flow out like a waterfall. Disciple Chen followed Liu Lanjai and also removed her seal, and the three of them continued to cultivate until the following morning. Su Yang, are you awake? Zai Xingfang's voice resounded outside early in the morning. Yes, I am awake. Give me a second to dress, Su Yang said to her. Once he was fully dressed, Su Yang opened the door and asked her, what's the matter? Good morning, Su Yang. I was just wondering if you would like to eat breakfast with us. Zai Xingfang asked him. Breakfast, huh, sure, he nodded. What about the others? She asked him with her body slightly fidgeting. Su Yang looked at the girls sleeping soundly on the bed before speaking. I don't think they'll be able to make it. I see. Although it's unfortunate, we still have dinner tonight, she said. Sometime later, Zai Xingfeng brought Su Yang to another room, where the Zai family and Yan Yan was already present and sitting around the table that was filled to the brim with food emitting spiritual energy. This is quite the meal even for a family of your stature. Don't tell me you eat this every morning, Su Yang spoke after seeing the spiritual food on the table. This is a special occasion. We normally don't even eat breakfast, much less one this extravagant, Lord Zai said to him. Hm, why are you alone? What about the ladies? Zai Wang asked him after noticing that the others were not with him. Let's just say they were up all night cultivating diligently, Su Yang responded with a calm smile on his face. Zai Wang was rendered speechless by Su Yang's honesty. To think he'd be bold enough to have sex in someone else's house and even talk about it without any shame on his face. As expected of dual cultivators, you people are something else. Zai Wang shook his head inwardly. I'll take that as a compliment, said Su Yang as he took a seat at the table. Anyway, let's talk after we finish eating, or the food will get cold. Lord Zai spoke before reaching for the food. An hour later, when everyone had satisfied stomachs, the servants began cleaning the table. Once the table was cleaned, Lord Zai looked at Su Yang and spoke with a serious expression on his face. I already know the answer to this question, but I still want to ask you about it regardless. After a moment of silence, he continued, are you willing to accept the title of Elite Sect for the Profound Blossom Sect? Chapter 635, Alliance with the Zai Family. The entire place turned silent after Lord Zai's question for Su Yang, and the Zai family glared at him as though they wanted to eat him alive. If you already know the answer, why did you still bother asking? Su Yang spoke a moment later with a calm expression on his face. Just in case you decide to exceed my expectations and surprise me, even if that chance might be almost non-existent. I see. Su Yang slowly nodded his head, and he responded a moment later in a clear voice. I refuse. A bitter smile appeared on Lord Zai's face after hearing his words. Even though he'd already expected this answer, it was still baffling to him that someone would actually refuse his offer. In fact, Su Yang is the first person to have ever refused his offer, setting a precedent. You probably already know the reason, but in case you don't, Su Yang cleared his throat before continuing to speak. By accepting your offer, the Profound Blossom Sect is essentially admitting to the world that we will lower ourselves before you, the Zai family, becoming just another one of your forces like the other elite sects. And I will not let the Profound Blossom Sect become lackeys for anyone. The Profound Blossom Sect will continue to grow, and it will eventually become one of, if not the most powerful force in the entire world. Lord Zai stared at Su Yang with a serious expression on his face, and he spoke. What are your goals? Why do you want the Profound Blossom Sect to have so much power? What do you gain from that? My goals? I don't really have one, nor do I expect to gain anything in return for my efforts. As for why I want the Profound Blossom Sect to have so much power, isn't it the sect master's responsibility to strengthen, expand, and make a name for their own sect? Don't everyone want the best for their own sect? I did not take the position of sect master just for show, and just like every sect master out there, I will be doing everything in my power to improve my sect. Though there is one difference between me and the others, I actually have the ability to make the Profound Blossom Sect stand at the top of this world, and that's exactly what I intend on doing. After a moment of silence, Su Yang continued to speak. There's no need for the scary faces. Even though the Profound Blossom Sect is destined to surpass the Zai family in every way, you don't have to worry about us taking your family's position as ruler of the Eastern continent. And I am supposed to just trust your words. How do I know that you won't do the complete opposite in the future? Lord Zai asked him with a frown. You won't know, Su Yang shrugged. However, it's not as though the Profound Blossom Sect does not already have what it takes to take over the entire world. If I cared about ruling the Eastern continent, I would have done so long ago. Lord Zai did not open his mouth again after Su Yang finished his last sentence. Although he was not there to witness Su Yang's prowess when he fought Patriarch Gold, he knew very well that Su Yang already had the capability to replace him because Zai Wang, his father, had long told him about Su Yang's real strength, and that if he truly wanted to, Su Yang could easily destroy the Zai family. Let's not get too heated up so quickly right after breakfast, you two. Zai Wang was the first to break the awkward silence, and he looked at Su Yang and said, We already knew that you have the ability to rule the Eastern continent even before I witnessed your fight with the expert from the Holy Central Continent. However, despite that, we trust you, or else we wouldn't be sitting here so peacefully. Su Yang nodded and said, As long as you don't cause trouble for my Profound Blossom Sect or stick your nose where it does not belong, we will also keep our hands to ourselves and only operate within our own territory. If you are still worried, I can sign a contract or even a peace treaty. Zai Wang and Lord Zai exchanged gazes with each other. They actually liked Su Yang's idea to sign a peace treaty. However, before they can even open their mouths, Zai Xingfeng spoke first. Instead of a peace treaty which makes it sound as though we were enemies at one point, why don't we form an alliance with each other? Like how your Profound Blossom Sect formed an alliance with the Burning Lotus Sect and the Heavenly Swan Sect. This way, the Profound Blossom Sect will neither be above or below us, and we will exist as equals. An alliance, huh? I can also do that, Su Yang nodded. What do you think, Father? Grandfather, are you willing to form an alliance with Su Yang, the Profound Blossom Sect? Zai Xingfeng took control of the entire situation and asked them as though she was in charge. Why, yes. They both nodded simultaneously, seemingly dumbfounded by her actions. Then it's decided, Su Yang. Our Zai family will gladly form an alliance with your Profound Blossom Sect, she said to him with a smile on her face. We will announce it to the public after you return to the Profound Blossom Sect, as it would be troublesome if we are bombarded with questions by the public when we are already busy enough with our plans for the next few days. That's fine, Su Yang calmly nodded. Thus, the Profound Blossom Sect and the Zai family formed an alliance with each other, setting a precedent. As this is the first time in history, the Zai family has formed an alliance with another power, which will greatly shock the Eastern continent once news begins to spread. Chapter 636 Existing in Another Space. A few hours have passed since breakfast finished before Liu Lanjai and the other girls in Su Yang's room woke up from their slumber, feeling sore all over their body, especially the lower part of their bodies. You're finally awake, Su Yang spoke to them from the couch with a teacup in his hands. Su Yang, what's with that look? Did we miss something? Liu Lanjai raised her eyebrows. Besides breakfast and some small conversations, not really, he calmly responded. What? We missed breakfast with the Zai family. Why didn't you wake us up, Su Yang? Liu Lanjai cried out loud with a pale face. To think she'd skip breakfast with the Zai family. Not only did she miss such a rare opportunity, but she also disrespected the Zai family by sleeping through their breakfast. You were all sleeping so peacefully that I did not dare to disturb it. And it's only breakfast, it's not like you missed the celestial pond. Su Yang casually shrugged. This is not your ordinary breakfast, Su Yang. It's breakfast with the Zai family. You have a higher chance at encountering a fortunate encounter than coming across this kind of opportunity. Don't worry, there's still dinner. Liu Lanjai sighed loudly before speaking a moment later. Knowing your character, this small conversation with the Zai family definitely isn't as small as you make it sound. So what did you talk about with them? Su Yang smiled upon hearing her words, and he spoke. You know me well. Indeed, while the conversation may be insignificant in my eyes, I can imagine that it'll mean a great deal for you. Liu Lanjai swallowed nervously, silently anticipating his next words. After some conversation back and forth, it has been decided that the Zai family and our Profound Blossom Sect will be forming an alliance. What did you just say? Liu Lanjai exclaimed in a shocked voice with her eyes spreading wider than her lower mouth last night. You are telling me that we are going to form an alliance with the Zai family? She asked him just to confirm that she did not hear wrong. Yes, and it will be announced to the public after we return to the Profound Blossom Sect. Su Yang calmly nodded his head. Liu Lanjai and the other disciples stared at him from the bed with a blank face, looking like they'd just witnessed a miracle. The Profound Blossom Sect has formed an alliance with the Zai family. Does this mean the Zai family has accepted them as equals? Is such a thing even possible? This has never happened before. It was unprecedented. You should take a look at your own faces in the mirror right now. It's quite entertaining. Su Yang said to them with a smile before he continued sipping on the teacup. After many moments of silence, Liu Lanjai finally spoke in a mumbling voice. The Profound Blossom Sect formed an alliance with the Zai family. She then lifted her head to look at the ceiling and continued. Are you seeing this, ancestors? Our Profound Blossom Sect has received the Zai family's approval. Su Yang shook his head with a smile on his face. Although he thought that she was overreacting, he couldn't blame her for being excited, as this is without a doubt a monumental step for the Profound Blossom Sect, perhaps even the Zai family, as they will definitely benefit from this alliance, too. Sometime later, once they have calmed down, Su Yang said to them, There's really nothing to do until the celestial pond opens, so just relax until then. Hearing his words, they nodded. Many hours later, once it was time for dinner, Liu Lanjai said to the Zai family, Thank you for forming an alliance with our Profound Blossom Sect. I really don't know what else to say besides that. Don't even mention it, Zai Wang said to her. Although he didn't say it, the only reason they agreed to form an alliance with them was due to Su Yang, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that without Su Yang, the Zai family would not even have considered forming an alliance with the Profound Blossom Sect even if they were still as powerful. In other words, the Zai family formed an alliance with Su Yang and not the Profound Blossom Sect itself. Let's do our best to support each other, Sect Master Liu, Zai Xingfeng said to her with a smile. Definitely, Liu Lanjai nodded. After dinner, Lord Zai said to them, regarding the celestial pond, after checking the seal today, it appears that the place will be opened a little bit earlier than scheduled, so you should be able to enter the celestial pond by noon tomorrow. A seal? The celestial pond is sealed? Liu Lanjai asked with a curious look on her face. Lord Zai nodded and said, the celestial pond does not actually exist in this world. It exists in another space, almost like how storage rings and pouches work. Once the seal is broken, it will reveal a portal for 7 days before closing itself again, and you will use that time to cultivate in the celestial pond. Wait a second. You said that the portal will close itself. What happens if we do not leave the celestial pond by then? Liu Lanjai asked him with an anxious feeling in her heart. Well, you'll have to stay inside until it opens again the next time in 100 years, Lord Zai responded with a serious expression on his face. Liu Lanjai stared at him with a speechless face. She didn't think it would be this dangerous. Though if one could cultivate in the celestial pond for 100 years, wouldn't that be incredibly worth it? However, Lord Zai then continued to speak. I know what you're thinking, but the celestial pond will lose its effectiveness once the portal closes, so you can forget about cultivating there for 100 years. But you don't have to worry about being locked inside since we have a few tools that will let you know when to come out. Chapter 637, Becoming Rebellious. This seal, is it a formation? Su Yang suddenly asked them. We're not sure, actually, Zai Wang responded. It looks like a formation, but when we got the top formation experts in the eastern continent to look at it, they were unable to find the formation, saying it's a natural phenomenon. Hearing such words, Su Yang shook his head and said, just because you cannot see it doesn't mean it's not there. Are they really the top formation experts? I would strip away their titles if I were you. The people there were speechless. Though they were unable to deny his words, as they have witnessed for themselves how he can create powerful formations with the snap of his fingers, while it may take others tens of years to create. Then, I have another question. Why are you limiting the number of people who can enter that place to 4? Is there a specific reason? Su Yang then asked. Yes, because the celestial pond will drastically lose its effectiveness if there are more than 4 people cultivating there at once. Nothing will happen if there are only 4 people cultivating there, but as soon as we add an extra person in there, everyone's progress will slow down by around 50%. Zai Wang explained to him. Su Yang slightly narrowed his eyes after hearing Zai Wang's words, seemingly in deep thoughts. A moment of silence later, he nodded. I see what's going on here. Thank you for confirming my speculations. What do you mean by that? Do you know something about the celestial pond? Lord Zai asked him. A thing or two, but I'll have to see it before I can be 100% certain. Lord Zai and Zai Wang looked at each other with wide eyes. The celestial pond was found by the ancestor of the Zai family over 1,000 years ago, yet they know pretty much nothing about it besides the fact that it can improve one's cultivation speed if they cultivate it inside it. Can you tell us about it? Even if you aren't confident, we want to hear it. Zai Wang asked him a moment later. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, I can tell you, but you'll have to wait. After a few seconds of silence, Su Yang suddenly said, actually, I can tell you a little bit about the celestial pond right now. They all looked at him with flickering eyes filled with anticipation. The celestial pond is not its actual name, or at least that's not what I would call it, and saying that it can only be used once every 100 years is also wrong. Lord Zai immediately stood up from shock after hearing his words, and he exclaimed, "Are you saying that we don't have to wait 100 years to use the celestial pond?" However, Su Yang did not respond to his question and merely looked at him with a mysterious smile on his face. "Damn it, Su Yang. How can you tell us something like that and not tell us everything you know? You're clearly just teasing us with that information." Lord Zai yelled at him in frustration. "So what if I am?" Su Yang remained sitting there with a calm expression on his face. "If you can't wait, you can try figuring it out yourself." Liu Lanjai and the other disciples began sweating after seeing the fierce atmosphere between Su Yang and Lord Zai, fearing that the alliance between them might end before the day even ends. "Calm down and have a little more patience, father. Su Yang said he'll tell us when the time is right. There's no reason for him to lie to us," Zai Xingfeng suddenly said to him in a calm voice. Lord Zai's eyebrows twitched when Zai Xingfeng took Su Yang's side, and he looked at her and said, "I have been ignoring this for a while, but you are becoming more and more rebellious lately, aren't you? With all due respect, I have no clue as to what you're talking about, father." Zai Xingfeng spoke with a nonchalant expression on her face. "HMPH, you can act stupid all you want, but don't think I can't see what's happening." Lord Zai coldly snorted. He then turned to look at Su Yang and spoke, "Anyway, if you don't want to tell me, I won't linger around any longer as there is still a lot of work to be done." Once Lord Zai left, Zai Wang spoke with a weird smile on his face. "Is there any particular reason why you are always trying to irritate him?" "No, not really," Su Yang shrugged. "It's just my nature to tease anyone who seems to be begging for it." Zai Wang lifted his eyebrows in a surprised manner. Did Lord Zai have a face that begged to be teased? He couldn't tell. Though it was not as though he didn't understand Su Yang's feeling, as he also enjoyed teasing Lord Zai when he was only a young man. But little did Zai Wang know that from Su Yang's perspective, everyone in this room, this entire world, could be considered a mere child before his countless years of experience. Sometime later, everyone returned to their own rooms to rest for tomorrow. "Master, I can sleep with you tonight, right?" Yan Yan asked him as they approached their rooms. "Of course, since that's what I promised you yesterday," he nodded. Thus, Yan Yan switched rooms with Liu Lanjai and the disciples for the night. Once they entered the room, Yan Yan immediately climbed on the bed, laid down, and proceeded to stare at him in silence. Su Yang smiled upon seeing this and also climbed on the bed before sleeping right beside her. "Thank you, Master, for sleeping with me. My parents used to do this every night before they died," she suddenly said to him as she snuggled closer to him. "Your parents, if you don't mind me asking, how did they die?" he asked her a moment later. Chapter 638, Yan Yan's Mysterious Background. "I don't know how my parents died," Yan Yan said after hearing Su Yang's question. "Eh?" Su Yang turned his head to look at her with his eyebrows raised in a puzzled manner. "My parents disappeared the day I turned 10 years old, and they haven't returned since then," Yan Yan explained to him. "They disappeared. Then why would you say that they are dead? They could be alive and anywhere in this world," he said. "Because the spirits told me," she responded. "The profound Qi told you that your parents died. Now that's something I have never heard of before." Su Yang spoke with a pondering face. Yan Yan nodded, and she continued to speak. "Before my parents disappeared, they told me to not trust people no matter who they are, and that I should only trust the spirits. So that's why you keep your distance from everyone. However, your parents, they knew about your unique talent." Su Yang couldn't believe it. Yan Yan's condition is so exceedingly rare that it would be completely reasonable if nobody in this world knew of its existence, nor would they believe it even if they were told about it. However, her parents somehow knew about it. Just who are her parents and why did they disappear? Furthermore, why would the profound Qi tell her that her parents were dead? Nothing about her situation made sense. Yes, my parents knew that I could talk to the spirits since I was very young, she said. After a moment of speechlessness, he asked her, "Where did you live before coming to the Profound Blossom Sect?" However, she shook her head and said, "I don't know. I was always surrounded by trees and mountains. The first time I left that place was after my parents disappeared when the spirits guided me to the Profound Blossom Sect to you." Hearing Yan Yan's words, Su Yang found her situation even more suspicious. However, he could not see any reason why she would lie to him, which made it quite puzzling. "Master, you won't disappear on me one day, right?" Yan Yan suddenly spoke in a lonely voice, snapping Su Yang out of his daze. I don't think I can promise you that," Su Yang spoke after a moment of silence. "Why, master? Are you going to leave me alone in the future?" She looked at him with wide eyes. "It's not that I am leaving you," Su Yang said to her, and he continued, "To tell you the truth, I do not belong in this world. I am someone who came to this place by chance, and when the time comes, I will be returning to my own home. Then can I come with you, master?" She wasted no time asking him, not even questioning his background. "I don't think that would be a good idea, unfortunately. You are beloved by the profound Qi in this world, but every world has its unique profound Qi, and if I take you away from this world to another world, there's a high chance that you might lose your talent. In other words, you will no longer be able to communicate with the spirits." Hearing Su Yang's words, Yan Yan turned silent. Losing her parents had affected her greatly, and it's only because of her ability to speak with the spirits that she could cope with their death. A life without being able to speak with the spirits, she cannot imagine living such a harsh life. "Now do you understand why I cannot make that promise to you?" Su Yang said to her. "I don't mind bringing you with me, but will you be able to bear losing your talent? And there's no guarantee that you will be able to return to this place once you leave. Let's go to sleep for now. You have plenty of time to think about it since there's still an entire year before I leave." Su Yang then said to her. "Yes, master." Yan Yan nodded before snuggling even closer to him until she was essentially sticking to his body. What a mysterious little girl, Su Yang thought to himself before closing his eyes. Sometime later, soft breathing filled the room. The next morning, everybody from the Profound Blossom Sect and the Zai family gathered in the living room. "Are you all ready to cultivate in the celestial pond?" Lord Zai asked Liu Lanjai and the other disciples. "Yes, Senior Zai," they nodded with a serious expression. "Then we'll head to the location of the seal now." Su Yang and the others proceeded to follow Lord Zai to the mountain range a few miles away from Snowfall City, where Zai Wang built his living quarters in order to protect and study the celestial pond. A few hours later, they all stood before an empty land somewhere in the mountain range. "Where is the seal?" Liu Lanjai looked around with a puzzled look on her face. "You won't see it until it decides to appear," Lord Zai said to her before turning to look at Su Yang and continuing. "However, you can try asking him. Maybe he'll know something like he always does." Everybody there turned to look at Su Yang after being put on the spot by Lord Zai. "What? Are you telling me that you cannot see it?" Su Yang smiled at Lord Zai, who frowned. "I don't need to see it since I know where it is. And since you seem to know everything, let's see if you know where the seal will open." Su Yang nodded and said, "Okay, but it won't be fun if there's nothing on the line. How about a small bet?" "A bet, you say?" Lord Zai raised his eyebrows, feeling an ominous feeling from Su Yang's grin, yet he did not want to back down after going this far. "Interesting, let's do it." Lord Zai nodded his head a moment later. Meanwhile, Liu Lanjai sighed inwardly, feeling sorry for Lord Zai. As someone who has never won against Su Yang before, she knew very well that Lord Zai had no chance against him, as Su Yang would only gamble if he's confident in winning chapter 639. Lowering his head, "What do you want to bet on?" Lord Zai asked Su Yang a moment later. "If I am being honest, you have nothing that I want." Su Yang casually shrugged his shoulders and continued. "So you tell me what you want from me first." You have nothing that I truly want either. Lord Zai said to him with a frown. However, there is something I want you to do. Lower your head before me and apologize for the number of times you have disrespected me. Do you think you can do that? Su Yang raised his eyebrows and acted surprised. You want me to lower my head? That's quite an expensive demand you have there. It'll cost you. Ha ha ha. Knowing your character, you probably won't lower your head even if you were beaten to death, hence why I picked that. Lord Zai laughed inwardly. The number of times I have lowered my head for someone can be counted on one hand, and they are all women that I have wronged. If you want me to lower my head for the bet, then I will have to request for something of similar value, but even if I ask for your life, it won't be enough to balance the scale. Su Yang said in a sighing voice. What? You dare claim that my life is not worth as much as you lowering your head? Lord Zai looked at him with wide eyes, as he truly did not expect Su Yang to say such words. Then what the hell do you want from me if even my life is not enough? There is a saying that a man's dignity and pride is worth more than their life. If I can locate the seal in this place before the celestial pond opens, I want you to run around Snowfall City naked. Su Yang said with a calm voice. You want me to what? Lord Zai's jaw dropped to the ground after hearing his unreasonable demand. Even Zai Xingfeng couldn't help but cover her mouth from shock, not even daring to imagine the image of her father running around the city while naked. Meanwhile, Zai Wang chuckled at that idea. You are asking for too much, Su Yang. There's no way that I would run around the city while naked, not even if you torture me. Lord Zai shouted angrily. Su Yang shook his head and said, You are such a difficult person to deal with. Fine, since I don't want our alliance to end so quickly, I'll make it easier for you. Instead of running naked around the city, I want you to summon every family and sect in the eastern continent that's under your control and have them gather at one place. Only one representative is needed from each power. What the heck? Lord Zai looked at Su Yang with a dumbfounded face. What exactly is he trying to pull here? There are tens of thousands of families and thousands of sects out there. It'll take months to arrange something like that. And for what purpose are you trying to gather so many people? Lord Zai asked him with a frown. Let's just say I have something important to announce, Su Yang calmly responded. Why can't you just announce it to the public and let it spread naturally? That'll be much more convenient than summoning every family in the eastern continent. Lord Zai said to him, because it'll leave a stronger impact if it's done that way. Su Yang said. He then continued, well, can you do it or not? I'll even give you a heaven transcendence pill as a bonus. What? Heaven transcendence pill? How do you have something like that? And why are you making it sound like I have already lost? Lord Zai frowned. Hearing his words, Su Yang pointed in a certain direction and spoke in a calm voice. The seal is 23 meters from where I am standing. Lord Zai turned to look at the place Su Yang was pointed at, and sure enough, that's where the seal usually appears. How? Lord Zai stared at Su Yang with his eyes wide as saucers. Does he really have the ability to see the seal? How did he do it when even the most talented formation experts in the world working together cannot figure it out? How I can see the formation is not important right now. Are you going to honor our bet and summon the families and sects or not? It's either that or you run around the city while naked, Su Yang said to him. Lord Zai immediately became speechless. He never even agreed to anything, as Su Yang had won the bet before they could even settle on it. After a moment of silence, he finally spoke in a defeated voice. You just want me to call for a summoning, right? That's right. You can pick the place and time, but make sure it won't take longer than 9 months. I swear to the heavens, Su Yang. If you are going to do something that'll ruin my image, Lord Zai stared at him with narrowed eyes. Seeing his threatening gaze, Su Yang merely shrugged and said, Don't worry, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with myself. Sometime later, Liu Lanjai spoke to him. Should I even bother asking why you want to gather so many people? Su Yang smiled at her and said, It's for my farewell party. What? Liu Lanjai looked at him with raised eyebrows, clearly puzzled by his words. You'll understand when the time comes. Sometime later, Lord Zai approached Liu Lanjai and the other disciples and said to them, "There's about an hour before the seal appears, and I want to take this time to explain to you what's going to happen when that happens." He then retrieved a few plain-looking talismans from his storage pouch and handed them to Liu Lanjai and the disciples. First and foremost, these talismans will tell you when your time is almost up, so when it activates, you must stop cultivating and leave the celestial pond, or you'll be stuck inside for 100 years. Thank you for listening to the story on KevinAudio.com, Chapter 640, Opening the Formation Early. Once you go inside the portal, use your spiritual energy to activate these talismans. When the talisman activates 7 days later, you will have exactly 60 seconds to stop cultivating and run out of the portal that's only a few meters away from the celestial pond, giving you plenty of time to leave. Lord Zai explained as he handed them the talismans. I cannot stress this enough, but if you do not leave the place in time, you will be stuck in there for 100 years, and not even heaven can save you then. Liu Lanjai and the disciples swallowed nervously at his grave warning. They cannot imagine being stuck inside one place for 100 years, and even worse, unable to embrace Su Yang for 100 years. A few moments later, Lord Zai continued, "Once the seal appears and you can see the portal, immediately jump into it, and you will be transported into this empty world where only the celestial pond exists. Remember, the portal will remain open for exactly 7 days, and you can leave the place at any time during the 7 days, but you'll lose valuable time if you do so. So I recommend you stay inside until the very last minute. Now for the most important thing about the celestial pond. You must cultivate inside the celestial pond in order to take advantage of the treasure. It will not work if you cultivate outside or around it. Do you have any questions or something you don't understand?" Liu Lanjai and the others shook their heads. "Good, then we only have to wait for the celestial pond to open in an hour." However, Su Yang quickly interrupted him and said, "You won't need to wait an hour since it will be opening in 5 minutes. What? Lord Zai turned to look at him with wide eyes. "The formation is already activated. It should reveal itself in a few minutes." "How is that possible? The celestial pond has always opened at the same time since ancient times. Why would it open an hour earlier than normal this time?" Lord Zai said to him, clearly doubting his words. Seeing Lord Zai's frown and doubtful gaze, Su Yang spoke with a smile on his handsome face. "Did you forget what I said yesterday? You don't have to wait 100 years for the formation to open. Since the thing protecting the celestial pond is not a natural phenomenon but a formation, as long as one has the ability, they can open or close the formation as they please." "What does this mean?" Before Lord Zai could even get his hopes up, Su Yang shook his head and said, "Just because you have the means to open the door does not mean whatever's inside that door will always be available for you. The celestial pond is not infinite once you use up its resources. It will naturally require time to recover itself." Lord Zai had nothing to say after hearing Su Yang's words, as what he said made clear sense. If one were to scoop out all of the water in a lake, one must wait for the river to refill the lake with water before it can be used again. While that is true, what if the celestial pond takes less than 100 years to recover? Even if it takes 90 years to recover, if we can open the portal and enter the celestial pond as we please, that's 10 years less that we have to wait every time we want to cultivate in the celestial pond. Zai Wang suddenly said. "That is true." Su Yang nodded after hearing Zai Wang's words, and he continued, "However, who in this world has the capabilities to open the formation when even the top formation experts cannot see the formation itself? You might as well ask mortals to start flying." Zai Wang was speechless. Indeed, who could possibly open the formation when only Su Yang can see the thing? What about you? You were able to tinker with the formation and make it open an hour earlier than scheduled. Surely you must have the capability to open the formation as you please. Lord Zai said with his gaze locked onto Su Yang, who wore a casual smile on his face. Indeed, this level of formation is nothing in my eyes and I can open it as I please. However, do I look like a freaking doorman to you? I don't have the time to open the formation for you every time you feel like going inside. It'll only be tedious at first, but once we figure out how long it'll take for the celestial pond to recover, you'll only need to open it whenever it recovers, and we'll even pay you for it, Lord Zai said to him. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, I won't be able to do it even if you offered me the world, as I will not be around in the future. What do you mean by that, Su Yang? Are you going somewhere? Zai Xingfeng suddenly asked him with a small frown between her brows. He nodded. Yes, I have a place that I need to be in the future and I don't know when I'll return, if I will ever return, but this is not the proper time for the conversation. He then turned to look at the formation and said, the formation is opening. Get ready to go inside. Once Liu Lanjai and the disciples heard his words, they prepared to move at a moment's notice. Crack, 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 the empty air suddenly cracked like a broken mirror, and a massive hole appeared in the crack a few moments later, revealing a purple portal that emitted an otherworldly inside. Go inside now, Lord Zai suddenly shouted at them. Hearing his voice, Liu Lanjai and the other disciples quickly reacted by approaching the hole in the air, before jumping into the portal and disappearing from the Eastern Continent. Chapter 641. Returning to the Holy Central Continent after entering the portal, Liu Lanjai and the others found themselves in this purple and pinkish world that appeared to be made of clouds, and even the ground they were standing on was made of clouds. What a mythical place, Liu Lanjai mumbled in a dazed voice. The other disciples were also dazed for a moment before Yan Yan's voice quickly snapped them out of their daze. The celestial pond is over there. They turned to look at the direction Yan Yan was pointing at, and sure enough, there was a small pond of sparkling golden water with a massive golden tree rooted directly right beside the pond. This tree trunk appeared to be made of pure silver, whilst the leaves were coated in a golden color, making it look like a luxurious decoration more than a real tree. Furthermore, if one looked closely, the leaves on the tree were dripping drops of golden liquid into the celestial pond. The celestial pond is actually a tree. Liu Lanjai was dumbfounded to learn this, and she wanted to admire the beautiful scenery more, but alas, she did not have the luxury to stand around. Let's hurry up and start cultivating, Liu Lanjai said to the disciples before entering the celestial pond and sitting in the lotus position in the golden water, which was only deep enough to reach and cover half of her breasts. However, for someone with a short figure like Yan Yan, the water depth was enough to touch her chin. Once they were all in the cultivating position, they began to absorb the profound qi there, which was richer and denser than anything they've ever experienced before, feeling like they were drinking fresh water for the first time when they have only drunk muddy water before. And because of Su Yang's yang qi inside their body, their cultivation base was improving at a crazy rate that would otherwise not be possible even with the celestial pond. Meanwhile, outside the celestial pond, Su Yang said to Zai Wang and Lord Zai, now that they have departed, it's time we leave for the Holy Central Continent too. The two of them immediately nodded with flickering eyes. Oh, how long have I waited for this moment? Zai Wang cried inwardly, feeling like a child who's going to the festival for the first time. I would also like to go with you, but I have to watch this place just in case there are intruders, Zai Xingfeng said to him with a bitter smile. If you are worried about intruders, I can simply protect this place with a formation so nobody can enter, Su Yang said to her. Really? I can come with you to the holy central continent. Zai Xingfeng looked at him with a pleasantly surprised face. Of course, he nodded. Su Yang then created a defensive and concealing formation around the portal, ensuring that nobody would disturb the people cultivating in the celestial pond. Are you all ready to leave? He asked them afterward. Yes. They all nodded their heads. Good. Su Yang retrieved Kiyu's massive flying boat that he'd borrowed from her before leaving the Profound Blossom Sect and tossed it into the air. The flying boat expanded in the air until it was the size of a warship. What are you waiting for? Get on, Su Yang said to them after boarding the boat. No matter how many times I see this treasure, it always leaves me speechless. Zai Wang spoke in an admiring voice as his gaze stared intensively at the domineering ship before him. A few moments later, once everyone was on the ship, Su Yang used his profound qi to fuel the flying ship. However, because his cultivation base is nowhere near as powerful as Kiyu's cultivation base, it will take them much longer to reach the holy central continent, even requiring Su Yang to take breaks. Do you need our help? Zai Wang asked him during their second break. Only those who have been approved by Kiyu can use this spiritual treasure, or it will reject your spiritual energy, Su Yang said to them. How long do you think it'll take to reach the holy central continent? Lord Zai asked him. 2 days give or take, he responded. What if we transfer our profound qi to you, Su Yang? Our spiritual energy can be used to recover your own, which should be okay, right? Zai Xingfeng suddenly suggested. I guess that would work, but it'll only shorten the journey by a few hours. Even if it will save only a few minutes, I still want to be of some help to you. I can't let you sweat alone while we do nothing, Zai Xingfeng said. Hearing her sincere voice, Su Yang nodded and sat down in the lotus position. Zai Xingfeng then walked and sat behind him, before putting her hands on his back and transferring her spiritual energy to his dantian through her palms. Lord Zai and Zai Wang looked at each other with an embarrassed look on their faces. To think Zai Xingfeng would be the first one to offer Su Yang help while having the lowest cultivation out of them, it made them feel ashamed. An hour later, Zai Xingfeng's back was soaked in sweat. I think this is my limit, she said to him with sweat dripping down her face. Get some rest, I'll take your place, Zai Wang said to her. Zai Xingfeng nodded before moving to another location to recover her own spiritual energy. Heavens! This is exhausting my spiritual energy at a ridiculous rate. No wonder why Zinger exhausted her spiritual energy in only an hour. How on earth does Su Yang keep this up for so long while being only at the heavenly spirit realm? Does he have an unlimited supply of profound qi in his body or something? Zai Wang cried inwardly, shocked by how much spiritual energy was required to fuel the flying treasure. Chapter 642. The reason I like you, I am at my limit. Switch with me. Zai Wang turned to look at Lord Zai after exhausting his spiritual energy in 4 hours, lasting only slightly longer than Zai Xingfeng despite being at the sovereign spirit realm. Ha! This will be my first time transferring my own spiritual energy to someone else, and to think it'd be Su Yang of all people, Lord Zai sighed inwardly. However, he was not in any position to decline, as Su Yang's the only reason he's going to fulfill his dream of traveling to the holy central continent. A few moments later, Lord Zai swapped places with Zai Wang and began transferring his spiritual energy to Su Yang. Good Lord! This spiritual energy consumption rate is ridiculous. At this rate, I'll exhaust myself in 2 hours. Lord Zai was immediately alerted by the speed his profound qi was disappearing at, feeling as though he was feeding a bottomless pit with his spiritual energy. And just like he'd predicted, 2 hours later, Lord Zai was near emptying all of his spiritual energy from his dantian. This is the most I can assist you for now, Lord Zai said as he stopped transferring his profound qi to Su Yang. I can handle the rest myself, Su Yang casually nodded. You are one hell of a crazy bastard, Su Yang. You know that, right? Lord Zai said to him afterward, and he continued, if not for the fact that you were born in the Su family, I would have mistaken you as an otherworldly being who does not belong to this world and came from the starry sky. Su Yang remained silent for a moment before speaking. You are not too far off, actually. Eh? Lord Zai looked at him with wide eyes, and even Zai Wang and Zai Xingfeng stopped cultivating to stare at him with shocked expressions on their faces. What the hell did Su Yang mean when he said that? Well, there's no harm in telling you now since the truth will be revealed sooner or later. Su Yang stopped the flying ship and stood up. He then looked at the Zai family and spoke with a serious but calm expression on his face. I may have been born in this world, but this is not my first life, as I have memories of my previous life from another world as an immortal. After a long moment of silence, Zai Wang spoke in a trembling voice. Why you mean, like reincarnation? Su Yang nodded and said, although I do not know if it was really reincarnation or not, we might as well see it as such. He then retrieved an appearance-reforming pill and swallowed it. A moment later, his appearance changed, becoming more handsome and mature. My physical body may only be 18 years old, but I have been alive for thousands of years. After a few more moments of silence, Lord Zai began laughing out loud. And no wonder why you are so powerful at such a young age. I knew it was impossible for someone to have such otherworldly talents. Does this mean Hong Yuer is also the reincarnation of an immortal, and she has retained the memories of her previous life? No, Hong Yuer's situation is a little bit special, but she's without a doubt a normal human that was born in this world, Su Yang said, and he continued. However, just because I have an advantage with my immortal memories does not mean such talents cannot exist. Although you are not aware, there are countless geniuses from where I'm from that can turn your views of the cultivation world upside down with their talents. What about those two goddesses? Are they also cultivators from your world? Zai Wang asked him, feeling as though he was experiencing enlightenment with so much otherworldly information. Su Yang nodded. Unbelievable to think there actually exist other worlds beyond this sky. Zai Wang looked at the clear sky with a dazed face. Su Yang, when you say that you will be leaving this place in the future and that you might not return, are you saying that you will be returning to your world, the world you came from? Zai Xingfeng spoke for the first time. That's right. Are you disappointed after learning the truth, that I am not some genius young man like you had thought? Su Yang suddenly asked her. However, Zai Xingfeng quickly shook her head and said, that's wrong, Su Yang. I am not disappointed. Although I do not know how to explain this feeling in my heart right now, it's definitely not disappointment. And she continued after taking a deep breath. What I like about you, the reason I like you, Su Yang, is not because of your talent. The reason I like you, Su Yang, is because of the way you talk to me and the way you look at me. I like your calm and soothing voice when you are speaking to me, and I like how you can look directly into my eyes so gently. You are the only person who can stare at me without making me feel uncomfortable. In fact, I like it when you look at me with those clear eyes. Therefore, even if you weren't a genius who can dominate the cultivation world, I would still. Zai Xingfeng suddenly stopped her sentence, not daring to continue any further, fearing that she might really fall in love with him if she did. Meanwhile, Lord Zai and Zai Wang were staring at her with gawking expressions on their faces, not daring to believe what they'd just heard. Although Zai Xingfeng did not finish her sentence, even an idiot with no experience in romance would be able to tell what she wanted to say. As for Su Yang, he held a gentle smile on his face this entire time, and he spoke a moment later. I am flattered by your feelings, and if you ever feel like continuing that sentence, I will always be willing to listen. Zai Xingfeng nodded with her face flushed with redness, as this is probably the most embarrassing thing she has ever said to anyone in her life. Chapter 643, A Frog in a Well. What? You guys don't have any questions regarding my background as an immortal? I expected to be flooded by questions, you know, Su Yang said to them sometime later. Zai Wang and Lord Zai exchanged awkward glances with each other. Now that they are aware of Su Yang's real identity, they no longer dare to speak with him so casually, especially knowing that he's an immortal with countless more experience than them. I know you have some questions. Go ahead and ask, I won't bite, Su Yang said, even urging them to question him for some reason. Then I have a question for you. Zai Wang raised his hand like an obedient disciple during lectures. What did you do in your previous life? What exactly does it mean to be an immortal? What did I do, huh? The short answer is that I traveled the world as a dual cultivator in search of beauties to cultivate with, he casually responded. He was also a dual cultivator in his past life. No, even more shocking is that one can become an immortal from dual cultivation. Zai Wang cried inwardly, as he didn't expect that dual cultivators would be able to go so far in the path of cultivation. As for what it means to be an immortal, I don't really know what to tell you. Immortals are no different than cultivators except the fact that they have near inexhaustible longevity. You mean to tell me that true immortality exists, that one can live forever? Zai Wang spoke in a loud voice filled with excitement. Only very few things in this world can truly exist forever, but no immortal has died of old age ever since cultivation was introduced to the world countless years ago, and plenty of immortals have survived for tens of millions of years, hence why I said near inexhaustible longevity, as you'll die from other causes before you die from old age. Su Yang explained to him. Then what does it take for one to become an immortal? How much more do I have to cultivate in order to achieve immortality? Zai Wang asked him with a hopeful gaze. However, Su Yang merely chuckled at his words and said, You'll die long before you can even become an immortal in this place because of the lack of spiritual energy in this world. Though, since you asked, I will broaden your views today and let you know just how insignificant you truly are. Su Yang cleared his throat and continued, While the sovereign spirit realm may be considered the peak of cultivation in this world, it's actually nothing impressive in my world, as sovereign spirit realm cultivators are still considered as mere mortals. What? I am still a mortal. Zai Wang's jaw dropped to the floor after hearing his words. Just how many more realms are above the sovereign spirit realm? Su Yang nodded and said, The sovereign spirit realm exists within the 7 mortal spirit realms: the elementary spirit realm, profound spirit realm, true spirit realm, earth spirit realm, heavenly spirit realm, sovereign spirit realm, and finally, divine spirit realm. Above the divine spirit realm is the 5 divine realms that consists of the divine origin realm, divine lord realm, divine sovereign realm, divine saint realm, and divine emperor realm. Entering the 5 divine realm is your first step into becoming a true cultivator. After surpassing the divine emperor realm, you will enter the 4 ancient realm, where you'll be considered as a half-immortal. The 4 ancient realm consists of the ancient sovereign realm, ancient saint realm, ancient emperor realm, and ancient immortal realm. And in order to become an immortal, you must reach the ancient emperor realm. Do you understand how far away you are now? Su Yang asked Zai Wang, who sat there with a blank expression, clearly overwhelmed by the information he just learned. 7 mortal spirit realms, 5 divine realms, and 4 ancient realms. I am truly what one would call a frog in a well. Zai Wang sighed with a dispirited look on his face, as he didn't expect the cultivation path to be this vast and profound. I have spent over 1,000 years to reach my current cultivation, And you're now telling me that I am not even considered as a real cultivator in your world, that I am only a mere mortal. What kind of joke is this? Zai Wang continued to sigh multiple times in a quick session, losing all desire to improve his cultivation any further. Seeing Zai Wang's negative reaction, Su Yang decided to keep the other realms above the four ancient realms to himself, as learning it now would only further break Zai Wang's cultivation spirit. Cultivation is more than just about increasing your longevity. Although cultivating for longevity is not necessarily a bad thing, as most people cultivate to live a longer life, they usually have other reasons that make them into cultivators. Su Yang said to Zai Wang a moment later. I know that. But to think I have been so full of myself for reaching the sovereign spirit realm when I am actually, Zai Wang sighed again. Su Yang shook his head, thinking it would be for the best to leave Zai Wang alone for now. He then looked at Lord Zai and asked him, "What about you? Do you have any questions for me?" "No, not really." Lord Zai quickly shook his head. "Then I have a question for you, Su Yang." Zai Xingfeng suddenly said to him. Su Yang looked at her and waited for her question. "When you say that you'll be leaving this place in the future, do you already have a method of returning to your own world, or are you only planning to return?" "There is already a way for me to return to my own world, but it's not guaranteed, and there are many risks involved in this method. However, I am willing to take these risks if I can return, as I still have many things to accomplish in that world," Su Yang said to her. "I see." Zai Xingfeng nodded and began to ponder in silence. Sometime later, Su Yang began feeding the flying ship his profound qi again, resuming their journey to the Holy Central Continent. Chapter 644, Heavenly Spiritual Roots. Somewhere in the Holy Central Continent, a man wearing black armor kneeled before a middle-aged man wearing luxurious robes that resembled that of royalty. "Your Majesty, we have spotted a flying ship approaching our continent, and it seems to be the one used by immortal fairy Su Yue." The man in black armor reported. "Immortal fairy Su Yue, it has been over a year since she last made her appearance." The middle-aged man spoke in a calm voice. "What should we do?" the armored man asked before suggesting. "Should we greet her?" "No, do not approach her. Immortal fairy Su Yue does not like being approached by others. If she needs something, she will approach you. We will simply sit back and see what she's going to do before we do anything. Maybe she'll disappear soon like her previous visit." "Yes, Your Majesty. What about the matter regarding Patriarch Gold? Do we have any news on his disappearance?" the middle-aged man then asked. "We have spoken with a few people at the Golden Lion Academy, and they said that Patriarch Gold had left the continent. However, we are still unsure about his destination. He also took with him a few heavenly spirit realm experts, so we can assume that he's not traveling a short distance. Why on earth would Patriarch Gold leave the continent? And it's been an entire year since his disappearance. How far did he travel? Is he even still alive? The Jade Sea is no joke even for someone as powerful as him." The middle-aged man sighed. "The Golden Lion Academy has been moving at a steep decline ever since the incident that nearly destroyed the entire sect. This is only an assumption, but we believe that Patriarch Gold is traveling to one of the other four continents." The man in the black armor suddenly spoke. "Are you certain about that?" "He should know that without my permission nobody can travel to the other continents." "Yes, Your Majesty. Let me know if Patriarch Gold appears again. I need to have a word with him," the middle-aged man said with a frown on his face. Meanwhile, back at the flying ship, Su Yang said to the Zai family, "We will arrive at the Holy Central Continent in about 6 hours. 6 hours. I will finally get to see for myself Cultivator's Paradise in 6 hours." Lord Zai mumbled to himself with his body trembling from excitement. However, Zai Wang merely continued to stare at the empty space with a dazed look on his face. "I don't want to ruin your mood, but calling the Holy Central Continent Cultivator's Paradise is an exaggeration. The only difference between the holy central continent and the eastern continent is the overall level of its cultivators. While the eastern continent lacks cultivators at the heavenly spirit realm, the holy central continent has plenty of them, and that is only because they have a higher quality of profound qi. Anyway, we came here for the four-element roots, and I can only think of one place that might have this medicine: the Four Seasons Academy, the top medicine sect on the continent. The top sect? Lord Zai immediately frowned, and he asked a moment later, how valuable is the four elements root anyway? I have brought some resources just in case we have to trade, but if it's too expensive, well, it's nothing special in my eyes, but in this world where resources are scarce, I can imagine it being quite valuable, Su Yang said. Seeing the worried expression on his face, Su Yang continued, don't worry, even if they don't have the four elements root, there are plenty of other resources that can be used as a substitute at the cost of lowering the pill's effect. 6 hours later, they can finally see land and trees in the distance. The holy central continent. Lord Zai stared at the place with wide eyes, looking as though he was trying to crave the scenery into his soul so that he'll never forget. So this place really existed. Even Zai Wang regained some of his energy and spirit after seeing the legendary land for the first time. The profound qi in this place is simply astonishing. Zai Xingfang spoke in a surprised voice. I can feel my cultivation improving just by breathing it. It's no wonder why there are so many heavenly spirit realm experts in this place. If I got to cultivate this quality of profound qi every day, I would have long entered the sovereign spirit realm. Zai Wang sighed loudly. There's something I don't understand, Su Yang. The holy central continent and the eastern continent both exist in the same world, yet why is there such a vast difference in the quality of our profound qi? Zai Xingfang suddenly asked him. Lord Zai and Zai Wang also turned to look at him after hearing Zai Xingfang's question, as they have never thought about this themselves. Good question. Su Yang nodded before continuing. Think of it like this: just because you live in the same house as someone doesn't necessarily mean your rooms will look exactly the same with the same atmosphere, and it's mostly the furniture and decorations that make the difference. In this case, the furniture is the natural resources that exist in each continent. In simpler terms, the reason why the holy central continent has a higher quality of profound qi than the eastern continent is simply that they have more natural treasures than us. Not only that, below the holy central continent exists something called heavenly spiritual roots that enhances their profound qi. Heavenly spiritual roots also exist below the eastern continent, but it's not as strong as the ones here, hence the difference between our spiritual energy. Heavenly spiritual roots. Heaven, this is my first time hearing this term, Lord Zai exclaimed. If that's the case, what happens if the heavenly spiritual roots are damaged or destroyed? Zai Wang suddenly asked him. Then the profound qi in that area will immediately decline in quality and quantity. In your case, it would be the entire eastern continent, he calmly responded. Chapter 645, Purple Bell Poison Flower. What? That would be disastrous, Lord Zai quickly said, and he continued, we will need to find a method to effectively protect the heavenly spiritual root when we return. I don't think you have to worry about that, Su Yang said to him. Why not? Lord Zai looked at him with a puzzled face. Because the heavenly spiritual roots exist deep underground, and even if you somehow manage to dig to the heavenly spiritual roots, I doubt any of you would be able to damage it. Heavenly spiritual roots are not your ordinary tree roots, and unless your cultivation is at the ancient realm, you can forget about even scratching the roots. Really? That's relieving, Lord Zai sighed afterward. He cannot imagine what would happen to the eastern continent if their heavenly spiritual roots are destroyed. If their profound qi suddenly declines in quality and quantity, perhaps reaching the heavenly spirit realm would no longer be possible, much less the sovereign spirit realm. Well, there are spiritual treasures that can destroy heavenly spiritual roots, but I also doubt someone would purposefully destroy the heavenly spiritual roots since you are living in a small place, Su Yang said. And he continued, even in my world, which is at least 1,000 times larger than this world and spacious enough to contain multiple heavenly spiritual roots, no sane cultivator would purposefully harm heavenly spiritual roots without a good reason. And even if they have a good reason, they risk offending every cultivator in the world by destroying the roots, which is considered taboo. As long as you don't reveal its existence to the public, it is very unlikely that anyone would discover the heavenly spiritual roots that dwell deep within the earth, much less destroy them. Anyway, we have arrived at the holy central continent. Let me restore my cultivation before we head to the Four Seasons Academy. Su Yang then landed the flying ship near the shore before tossing it inside his storage ring. Do you mind if I take a look around in the meantime? Zai Wang asked him afterward. Go ahead, just don't go too far and return here in 3 hours, Su Yang said to him almost like he was speaking to a child at the park. I am also going to look around, Lord Zai said before flying away. Once they were alone, Zai Xingfeng quickly began feeling nervous, mostly because of her confession for him. If you want, you can also look around, Su Yang said to her as he sat down and began cultivating. I'll stay here with you, she shook her head before taking a seat behind him. Although I am interested in the holy central continent, that's not the only reason I followed you here, she said inwardly with a bittersweet smile on her face. 3 hours later, Zai Wang and Lord Zai returned to their side. Su Yang, look at what I found. I have never seen this kind of treasure before, but it's rich with profound qi. Zai Wang showed him a weird-looking herb with an excited face, looking like a child who found a toy in the streets. Su Yang glanced at the blue herb and said, "That's an azure tiger flower. It's used to concoct some earth-grade pills." "What about this purple-looking plant?" Lord Zai showed him the purple plant with a glowing flower that resembled the shape of a bell. "That's a purple bell poison flower. It's poisonous." "Ah, why didn't you tell me that sooner?" Lord Zai immediately threw the plant to the side with a terrified look on his face. Seeing this, Su Yang shook his head and went to pick up the purple bell poison flower, surprising Lord Zai. He then tossed the plant into his storage ring and continued to speak. Although it contains poison, the purple bell poison flower is a rare and valuable treasure with many uses. Compared to the azure tiger flower, it's at least 10 times more valuable, and to think you'd throw something like that away, what a waste of resource. And since you don't want it, I'll take it off your hands. Lord Zai stared at him with wide eyes filled with disbelief. He definitely and deliberately used the poison to scare him into throwing the treasure away. And before Lord Zai could even complain, Su Yang spoke. "Anyway, I have recovered my spiritual energy. We can continue our journey to Four Seasons Academy." A moment later, Su Yang retrieved the smaller flying ship and boarded it. "There's not much room, so you'll have to sit close to each other," Su Yang said to them. Lord Zai and Zai Wang looked at each other before looking at Zai Xingfeng. They then boarded the flying ship and sat right beside each other without opening their mouth, leaving the seat beside Su Yang to Zai Xingfeng. Zai Xingfeng immediately blushed at their obvious intentions. However, she did not say anything and sat beside Su Yang. Once Zai Xingfeng sat down, Su Yang could feel her soft body pressing against his side, and the sweet yet subtle fragrance on her body gave a calming effect. "Excuse me, Su Yang," Zai Xingfeng said to him with a rosy face. "Don't mind it," he responded with a smile on his face. A few moments later, the flying ship soared to the sky and approached the Four Seasons Academy. Once they reached the Four Seasons Academy sometime later, Su Yang landed the flying ship right in front of their sect. "We're here," he said to the Zai family as he stowed the flying ship into his storage ring. Lord Zai and Zai Wang nodded with a serious expression on their face, while Zai Xingfeng wore a veil over her face. They approached the gates a moment later. Meanwhile, the guards were puzzled and surprised when they saw Su Yang and the Zai family approaching their sect. 3 heavenly spirit realm experts, and there's even someone at the sovereign spirit realm with them. Who are they? I don't know. I have never seen that old man at the sovereign spirit realm before. Quick! Someone notify the sect leader. Chapter 646, Legendary Pill Recipe. Sect Master Zhu. This is an emergency. We have 4 visitors, 3 heavenly spirit realm experts and 1 sovereign spirit realm master. However, we don't recognize any of them. The messenger rushed to the sect master's building to notify her of Su Yang's arrival. What? How can you not recognize someone at the sovereign spirit realm? There are only a handful of experts at the sovereign spirit realm, and you mean to tell me that you don't recognize this person? Sect Master Zhu quickly lectured this disciple. Sect Master, I know the face of every cultivator at the sovereign spirit realm, but I really don't recognize this one. It's an old man at the first level sovereign spirit realm. An old man at the first level sovereign spirit realm. Sect Master Zhu raised her eyebrows upon hearing this information, as she also doesn't recall any old man at that level. Did you ask for their names? She then asked. Yes, 3 of them belong to a family with the surname Zai, and the last one was named Su Yang. The disciple said. Surnamed Zai and Su He. The sect master instantly stopped talking, and she stared at the disciple with wide eyes and a gawking expression, looking as though she just witnessed the impossible. WWW, what was the name of that last person? Repeat it for me again, she spoke in a stuttering voice, not daring to believe her ears. I believe he called himself Su Yang. The disciple responded with a nervous look after seeing the sect master's reaction. And suddenly bang! The disciple watched in horror when sect master Zhu stood up and flew out of the closed window, creating an ugly hole in the wall. Sect master. The disciple immediately rushed to the window and called out to her, but alas, she was long gone. Meanwhile, at the Four Seasons Academy's entrance, Su Yang and the Zai family casually waited outside while one of the disciples went to notify sect master Zhu of his arrival. Don't you know them, Su Yang? Why do we have to wait like this if you knew them? Lord Zai asked him. I only know a few individuals from this place, he casually responded. Lord Zai was beginning to worry if the Four Seasons Academy would even listen to their request, much less give them the 4 elements route. Just as Lord Zai began worrying, they could feel a powerful aura approaching their location at immense speed. What a strong aura! This expert must be at the sovereign spirit realm. Lord Zai expressed surprise. This is my 2nd time seeing another individual who's at the sovereign spirit realm. And this person's aura feels even stronger than that bastard. Zai Wang was greatly surprised that he would meet someone stronger than Patriarch Gold so quickly. That is the sect master. The sect master is approaching us. The disciples stationed at the gate immediately lined up in an orderly fashion and patiently waited for sect master Zhu's arrival. A few moments later, they bowed to the figure that descended before them. Greetings, sect master Zhu. However, sect master Zhu ignored them and immediately approached Su Yang. Oh my goodness. It's really you, Su Yang. Sect master Zhu grabbed his shoulders with trembling hands and teary eyes. Are you okay? Su Yang was baffled by her reaction, who looked like she was meeting her long-lost son for the first time in years. I'm fine, perfectly fine. It's just that I never thought I'd ever see you again after your departure, she said after wiping her tears. Anyway, what brings you back to this place? Are you perhaps here to see Zhu Minji? She looked at him with a hopeful gaze. He nodded and said, yes, along with a few other matters. Please, let's talk elsewhere, somewhere more comfortable. Sect Master Zhu then led Su Yang and the Zai family away, leaving the disciples dumbfounded. Who the hell was that young man? I have never seen the sect master acting like that before. She reminded me of my grandmother just now. She even cried. I don't think I will be able to sleep tonight after seeing that. Meanwhile, back at the sect master building, after everyone sat down, sect master Zhu spoke. Please ignore the broken window, it was an accident. She then looked at Su Yang and continued. Zhu Menji is currently at the Holy Sword sect. However, I have already sent her a message regarding your presence, so she should return soon. Anyway, what other matters do you have? Su Yang then said. Do you know of a treasure called 4 Elements Root? I am looking for it. 4 Elements Root. Sect Master Zhu immediately raised her eyebrows in surprise. Of course, I know of this treasure. In fact, pretty much every alchemist that exists on this continent is aware of this divine treasure that is rumored to be one of the ingredients for a legendary pill recipe that is said to have the capabilities to revive the dead. However, it's an exceeding rare treasure that is governed by the emperor himself, so only a few individuals have ever got to see it, much less touch it. A legendary pill recipe for reviving the dead, as if something like that exists. Su Yang shook his head, instantly announcing this pill as pure nonsense. While there are many similar legends in the 4 divine heavens, nobody has ever concocted a pill that can revive the dead, not even the alchemy god who is known to have the ability to concoct every pill that exists in the universe. Regardless of the rumor's authenticity, it is a fact that the 4 Elements Root is not something one can easily get their hands on, and if you are looking for it, I can only refer you to the Emperor himself, Sect Master Zhu said to him in a regrettable voice. Who is this Emperor? Tell me more about him, Su Yang then said. Sect Master Zhu nodded her head, and she proceeded to explain everything to him. Chapter 647, Emperor Lion. Emperor Lion is a peak sovereign spirit realm expert, and also the ruler of the Holy Central Continent, and his lion family has been the #1 power on the continent since the ancient times, Sect Master Zhu explained. Besides a few rules that they have set for the continent, the lion family rarely interacts with the outside world, only acting during extreme and urgent situations. However, that is not to say they know nothing about what's going outside. In fact, it's the complete opposite. The lion family keeps track of everything that happens on the continent. So they're like you guys. Su Yang turned to look at the Zai family after hearing Sect Master Zhu's words. Sect Master Zhu turned to look at the Zai family before stopping to stare at Zai Wang, and she continued a moment later. I have been meaning to ask, but who are these people? Although I don't know every heavenly spirit realm expert on the continent, I know everyone who has reached the sovereign spirit realm, yet I have never seen him before. Do you want to introduce yourselves, or should I do it for you? Su Yang asked them. Lord Zai stood up the next second and gave a courteous bow. Hello, Senior Zhu. My name is Zai Yimu from the Zai family, and my family currently governs the Eastern Continent. Wait, Eastern Continent? You guys came from the Eastern Continent? Sect Master Zhu looked at them with wide eyes. That's right, and we have always wanted to visit the Holy Central Continent, even treating this place as though it's cultivators' heaven, Lord Zai said. This is my first time meeting with someone from the Eastern Continent, she spoke in a daze. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, What are you talking about? I also came from the Eastern Continent. What? Is that true? Sect Master Zhu looked at him with a gawking expression. Su Yang nodded. Unbelievable, she mumbled. Anyway, continuing with the introduction, I am Zai Wang, the ancestor of the Zai family and Zai Yimu's father. It's nice to meet you, fellow Taoist. I have heard about the low quality of profound qi in the Eastern Continent. It's surprising that someone actually managed to reach the sovereign spirit realm in that place, she said with an interested gaze. Ha ha ha. It took me over a millennium to achieve this cultivation, though. Zai Wang laughed in a bitter voice. After the two of them exchanged a few sentences with each other, Zai Xingfeng stood up and bowed to her gracefully. "This junior's name is Zai Xingfeng, and I am the only child in my family. It's an honor to meet senior. This girl is definitely a beauty behind that veil," Sectmaster Zhu thought to herself after seeing Zai Xingfeng's perfect figure and noble aura. She then looked at Su Yang, wondering if Zai Xingfeng could be his main lover. "So, you all came here for the Four Elements root. If I am not being too nosy, can you tell me why you need this treasure?" Sectmaster Zhu asked them sometime later. "Well, it's like this." Zai Wang proceeded to explain the situation and Zai Xingfeng's condition to her. "A poisoned body. That sounds very complicated." Sectmaster Zhu spoke with a frown on her face, pitying their situation. "If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. Though I doubt you'll be needing me for anything with Su Yang here, especially when it comes to alchemy. He's definitely the best out there when it comes to alchemy." "Wait a second, alchemy, the best out there?" Lord Zai suddenly frowned upon realizing something. Su Yang noticed Lord Zai staring at him with wide eyes, seemingly asking him for confirmation. And in response, he merely showed Lord Zai an innocent-looking smile. "It's him. It's definitely him. The mysterious alchemy master who showed up out of the blue. Everything makes sense now. An expert from the holy central continent, my ass. It was you all along, Su Yang." Lord Zai cried inwardly after realizing the truth to the mysterious alchemy master's identity. Even Zai Xingfeng and Zai Wang were looking at him with dumbfounded expressions, as they have also realized the situation. Though they were not as surprised as Lord Zai, who had personally spoken with him in his disguise. "Now you understand why we need the Four Elements roots. Do you think this Emperor Lion would be willing to give it up?" Su Yang asked a moment later. "I honestly can't say for sure, but since you are related to immortal fairy Su Yu," Sectmaster Zhu said. "Immortal fairy Su Yu." A slight smile appeared on Su Yang's face after being reminded of Kit Yu's little alias. "Anyway, I will set up an appointment with Emperor Lion for you later," Sectmaster Zhu said. Su Yang nodded and he spoke. "Now that the other matters are out of the way, let's talk about Zhu Minji. How has she been doing lately?" "Oh, Zhu Minji is doing great. She has never been happier before, especially after giving birth to your daughter a few months ago." Zhu Minji spoke with a bright smile on her face. Your daughter?" The Zai family immediately turned to look at Su Yang with wide eyes filled with utter disbelief. "A daughter, huh?" Su Yang did not react with shock or surprise even after hearing that Zhu Minji had given birth to his child, only showing a gentle smile on his face. "She's also a very healthy child. And she will without a doubt grow up to be as beautiful if not even prettier than her mother in the future, especially since she also has your genes." Sectmaster Zhu nodded her head with pure happiness on her face. Wait a moment. Su Yang. Imprgnatd. Right as Lord Zai opened his mouth to question Su Yang, the door blasted open, and two beauties rushed into the room with a baby in their grasp. Chapter 648. Two beautiful daughters, Su Yang. "I cannot believe it. You are really back." When Zhu Minji saw Su Yang, she immediately rushed at him with teary eyes and a child in her arms. However, she was not the only one who entered the room, as a second beauty entered the room a second later. "Su Yang." Wu Jingjing quickly approached him, also with a child in her arms. "Huh, what are you doing here, Wu Jingjing?" Sectmaster Zhu spoke after realizing that Zhu Minji did not return alone, as she did not expect Wu Jingjing to appear as well. But alas, Wu Jingjing was too excited about Su Yang's return to even pay attention to anything else, completely ignoring Sectmaster Zhu. Meanwhile, the Zai family took a few steps back from shock and bewilderment, looking as though they were still trying to comprehend the situation. "Zhu Minji, Wu Jingjing, it's been a year," Su Yang said to the two beauties with a handsome on his face. He then looked at the two cute female children in their arms and continued, Congratulations on giving birth to the little ones. They are beautiful like their mothers." Zhu Menji and Wu Jingjing showed a warm smile on their faces after hearing his words, and Zhu Menji spoke a moment later. "Thank you, Su Yang, for giving us such wonderful daughters. And thank you for allowing us to bear your child," Wu Jingjing said afterward. "Wait a moment." Sect Master Zhu suddenly cried out loud. "Wu Jingjing, what do you mean by that? Your child also belongs to Su Yang." Hearing her shocked voice, Wu Jingjing turned to look at her and nodded. "Sorry for not telling you sooner, Senior Zhu. My father was adamant on keeping it a secret even from you." "That freaking old man, how dare he keep such a secret from me? I will definitely have a word with him later." Sect Master Zhu gritted her teeth in anger. "Mother, calm down, you are scaring the babies." Zhu Menji quickly warned her. "Oh, my apologies. Anyway, do you want to hold our daughter?" Zhu Menji asked Su Yang afterward. "If you don't mind," he nodded. Zhu Menji then carefully handed the little girl in her arms to Su Yang, who cradled the girl with slightly trembling hands. Although this is not his first time holding a baby, this is definitely his first time holding his own baby, which made him unexpectedly nervous. Su Yang looked at the baby in his arms, and the baby silently stared at him in return, feeling some sort of connection with each other. "Wow, this is the first time that she's not crying after being held by someone that's not me." Zhu Menji expressed surprise after witnessing her daughter's calmness, and she continued, "Maybe she can somehow tell that you're her father." "What is her name, by the way?" Su Yang asked her. "Zhu Jiayi, hoping that she will have an auspicious life." "Zhu Menji and Zhu Jiayi, huh?" "I like it," Su Yang nodded. After holding Zhu Jiayi for a few moments, he noticed a small pair of eyes staring at him intensively, causing him to look at the baby in Wu Jingjing's arms. "Ha ha ha, what a pair of sharp gaze, she'll definitely become a powerful swordmaster in the future." Su Yang laughed loudly after seeing this. "Do you also want me to hold you?" he then asked the baby, who surprisingly responded by wiggling her body. "Here you go, Su Yang." Fearing that the baby might wiggle out of her arm, Wu Jingjing quickly passed the baby onto Su Yang before saying, "Her name's Wu Min, as in quick and sharp like a sword." Once Wu Min was in Su Yang's embrace, she immediately stopped wiggling and silently stared at Su Yang, looking just like Zhu Jiayi. Zhu Jiayi and Wu Min, what a mysterious feeling. Now with his own creation in each of his arms, Su Yang was experiencing a feeling that he has never felt before. Zhu Menji and Wu Jingjing sat down beside before asking him questions such as, "Where have you been for the last year and a half, Su Yang? Why did you return to this place? I thought you wouldn't be back for a long, long time." After listening to their question, Su Yang proceeded to explain to them the situation and that he's actually from the Eastern continent. "Unbelievable, to think you were actually from the Eastern continent." They covered their mouths in surprise. "So they must be." The two girls turned to look at the Zai family that had been silently standing in the corner with blank expressions on their faces, and their gaze stopped at Zai Xingfang after seeing her flawless figure, wondering to themselves what her relationship was with Su Yang. Su Yang, I know you don't owe us any explanations, but would you mind telling us what is happening here?" Zai Wang suddenly asked him. "What are you confused about?" Su Yang asked them with raised eyebrows, acting ignorantly. Those children, are they really?" Zai Wang spoke in a stuttering voice. "Yes, they are mine. Is there a problem with that?" he casually responded. "No, but knowing your playboy nature, it's actually quite shocking that you'd be willing to have children." Lord Zai suddenly spoke. "I know what you mean, but things can always change," Su Yang spoke. Meanwhile, Zai Xingfang remained silent, seemingly in deep thoughts. Sometime later, Sect Master Zhu said, "Anyway, I am going to write a message for the Lion family requesting an audience for you. It'll take a day or two at most for a response, but you can stay here in the meantime. I'll also arrange your living quarters." "Su Yang, you can stay in my living quarters like before," Zhu Menji quickly said to him. "Okay," he nodded. "Can I also stay with you for a while?" Wu Jingjing asked. Of course. Zhu Menji immediately responded. Chapter 649, taking responsibility after leaving sect master Zhu's room. The Zai family was led to their temporary living quarters by the disciples while Su Yang returned to Zhu Menji's living quarters with Wu Jingjing. I cannot believe it. Su Yang actually has children, 2 of them at that, and with 2 different women, Zai Wang exclaimed after they settled down in their large house. He's the last person in the world I'd expect to have children. Lord Zai also shook his head. What do you think about this situation, Zinger? Zai Wang asked her a moment later when she remained silent. Is it really that shocking that someone as talented and handsome as Su Yang would have children? I'm sure there'll be plenty of willing women lined up if he asked. She responded in a surprisingly calm voice, and she continued, I am more interested in the mothers. How can they endure having the man they've conceived with impregnating other women and be fine with it, even remaining in a friendly relationship with them? I simply cannot understand their feelings. Zai Xingfeng shook her head and sighed. Perhaps if I can understand their feelings, I will finally be able to accept Su Yang despite the shortcomings of such a relationship. Hearing her words, Zai Wang and Lord Zai remained silent, as they did not know how to respond to such words. Meanwhile, in Zhu Menji's living quarters, Su Yang sat on the bed with his daughters still in his embrace. They really like you, Su Yang. So much so that even I am starting to feel jealous, Zhu Menji spoke in a joking voice. A few moments later, Wu Jingjing asked him, Su Yang, how long do you think you'll be staying in the holy central continent this time? A week at most, he quickly responded. Once we have the 4 elements root, we will immediately return to the eastern continent and concoct the poison immunity pill. After all, Zinger's condition is worsening as we speak, and we don't know how long her body will be able to endure the poison. That girl, is she your lover? Zhu Menji asked him after gathering her courage. No, she's not, he shook his head. Really? They looked at him with wide eyes. Why would I lie to you? He responded with a smile. A few minutes later, Su Yang said while looking at the 2 babies in his embrace, it appears that the little ones have fallen asleep. Let's put them in the other room for now, Zhu Menji said. Su Yang nodded and followed them to another room, where 2 toddler cribs were already built right next to each other. Once the children were placed into their beds, Su Yang and the others returned to the other room. By the way, I'm surprised the 2 of you knew each other. What a crazy coincidence that you both wanted to be imprgnatd by me, he said to them with a smile. You're telling us that. You have no idea how shocked we were when we found out that we were imprgnatd by the same man. I almost thought I was dreaming when I learned the truth, Zhu Menji said to him. Because of our parents' relationship with each other as the sect master of the 3 ancient academies, we have known each other since we were young. However, it is truly a miracle that our daughters have the same father, Wu Jingjing said afterward. Su Yang chuckled. You 2 sure have a close relationship with each other to the point where you even cultivated with each other. When did you begin doing it with each other? Hey, how do you know that? They looked at him with a baffled expression. I can sense your yin-qi on each other. Even a blind man can tell if they knew what they were looking for, Su Yang said with a smile on his face. Zhu Menji and Wu Jingjing exchanged worried looks with each other. Wu Jingjing then spoke. Su Yang, we can explain. Explain? What is there to explain? Su Yang raised his eyebrows in a puzzled manner. You mean you don't mind it, us cultivating with each other, I mean? Zhu Menji asked him with wide eyes. Of course not. Why would I mind it if 2 of my own women have to satisfy each other in my stead because I am not there for them? It's not as if you went to another man. And even if you did, I would not have complained, since I have already stated that I cannot be in your life. In fact, it's quite common for women who share the same man to be satisfying each other when the man cannot satisfy them or is absent, Su Yang explained to them, reassuring them that he did not mind them cultivation with each other. Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji stared at him in silence, seemingly speechless. "Since we are on the topic, can I ask if either of you has found another partner that's not each other?" Su Yang suddenly asked them. "In no way, besides you we have only cultivated with each other," Zhu Minji quickly responded. "You really think we would forget about you that easily, Su Yang? I can still feel the feeling of your hands touching me even now." Wu Jingjing sighed. "And doing it with Sister Minji, she can barely satisfy my lust. Hey, I am trying my best, okay? You're asking too much from me if you want me to satisfy you as if I am Su Yang. And I can say the same thing about you, Sister Jingjing," Zhu Minji quickly said to her. "Anyway, why are you asking Su Yang?" Wu Jingjing ignored Zhu Minji and asked him. "Well, I have changed a little since I left the holy central continent, and I have given a lot of thought about what I said to you too, that I cannot be with you because of my situation. And after some thoughts, I have changed my mind." Why you don't mean?" They stared at him with gawking expressions, with their hearts beating wildly. Su Yang nodded and continued, "I would have ignored it if you had already found another partner, but since that's not the case, I would like to go back on my previous words and say that I am willing to take responsibility for our children and the two of you too." "No way." Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji gasped in shock before covering their mouths, and their eyes immediately began tearing up once their minds had comprehended Su Yang's words. Really? You don't mind taking us?" Zhu Minji spoke in a mumbling voice, clearly trying to resist bawling her eyes out. "You are willing to accept us?" Even Wu Jingjing could barely believe her ears. Su Yang nodded and continued, "Yes, I am willing to accept both of you. However, you should know a few things about me before you come to a conclusion. If you are willing to accept me for who I am even after learning the truth, I will also do same." Zhu Minji and Wu Jingjing nodded with serious expressions on their faces and patiently waited for him to continue. However, even if they haven't heard anything yet, they were pretty confident that no matter what Su Yang is about to tell them, that they would be willing to accept him. Chapter 650 BREAST Milk. After giving Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji a moment to prepare themselves mentally, Su Yang spoke. "Let's begin with my background. First of all, my body may only be 18 years old, but I am actually much older in reality, as I have memories of my past life. In other words, I have experienced reincarnation, and I used to be an immortal in my previous life." "Our reincarnation? Immortal in your previous life?" Both Zhu Minji and Wu Jingjing stared at him with wide eyes filled with shock, as they didn't expect such a revelation from Su Yang. Su Yang calmly nodded his head and continued to speak. "In my previous life, I was a dual cultivator, and I lived in a world that is very far away from this place. Divine heavens, that was my world, and in that world cultivators at the sovereign spirit realm are as abundant as there is grass in this world, and there exist cultivation levels that neither of you could even imagine." After a moment of silence, Wu Jingjing asked him, "If you don't mind me asking, how did you die in your previous life?" "To tell you the truth, I don't even know whether I am truly dead or not, as I don't ever recall being killed my previous life. Before I knew it, I was already in this world. Now on to the reason why I didn't want to bear responsibility. Although I am now in this world, I do not intend on staying here for the rest of my life, and I already have plans to leave this place and return to my own world in about 2 years. I have a lot of enemies in the divine heavens, and I didn't want to put you or our children at risk, hence why I didn't dare to bring you with me. However, after giving it some thought, I have decided to stop being a coward and bring those who wish to be with me to the divine heavens. After all, if I cannot even protect the women I love, can I even be called a man? Therefore, I am going to ask you again, are you willing to come with me to my world? If you are willing, I will accept you into my family." Su Yang silently waited for their answer. Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji exchanged glances with each other before nodding in silence. They turned to look at Su Yang and spoke simultaneously. "We are willing." Hearing their answer, Su Yang nodded with a smile and said, "Before we continue with the customs, allow me to explain to you the family rules." He then proceeded to explain the rules they must follow as a member of his Su family. A few minutes later, he asked them, "I will ask you one last time, are you willing?" "We are willing," they responded without hesitation. "Then let us begin the custom, where I will give you my family seal." Su Yang spoke as he began loosening his robes. Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji's eyes immediately flickered with excitement after seeing this, as they have been craving for his love ever since he left. A few moments later, Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji stood before Su Yang with their beautiful body completely naked. And even though they have given birth not long ago, their bodies remained flawless, looking like they never gave birth in the first place, with only one small change, the size of their breasts increasing, which was only natural for women who have given birth before, as their breasts now contained milk. "Come over here." Su Yang pulled the two beauties towards himself and made the two of them sit on each of his laps. Once they were sitting on his lap, Su Yang approached Wu Jingjing's breasts with his mouth and began sucking on her pink tip. Tilde, Wu Jingjing Ned softly before speaking with a smile on her face. "What do you think of my breast milk, Su Yang?" After sucking on her breasts for a few moments, Su Yang spoke with a satisfied smile. "It tastes great. The texture is smooth and creamy while the flavor is subtly sweet. I wouldn't complain if I had to drink this every day. Try mine next, Su Yang." Zhu Minji slightly twisted her body, inviting him to suck on her breasts. Su Yang nodded and licked around her pink circle before sucking on it with force, squeezing her breast milk with his mouth. Tilde. Zhu Minji Ned in a blissful voice. A few moments later, Su Yang licked his lips and nodded with a satisfied face. "It's about the same as Wu Jingjing. I really like it." "Since you like it that much, go ahead and drink until you are fully satisfied. Just leave some for our children later." Zhu Minji giggled childishly. Su Yang nodded and wasted no time continuing to feed on their breasts. Meanwhile, Wu Jingjing and Zhu Minji worked together to pleasure Su Yang's lower body, with Wu Jingjing stroking his divine sword and Zhu Minji massaging his jewels with their hands while sitting on his lap. A few minutes later, Su Yang also released his milk, shooting it all over their bodies and even reaching the ceiling. "Wow, Tilde, there's so much," Zhu Minji exclaimed, feeling hot all over her body. "Let's not waste it." Wu Jingjing spoke as she began licking the yang qi off Zhu Minji's body. A few moments later, Zhu Minji also cleaned Wu Jingjing's body with her mouth. "I didn't notice this before, but you're already at the heaven spirit realm. That's ridiculous. You were only at the true spirit realm a year ago," Wu Jingjing exclaimed in a shocked voice after realizing his shocking improvements. "That cultivation speed is not fair. But what else can we expect from someone who used to be an immortal in his previous life?" Zhu Minji said with a smile on her face. Sometime later, Su Yang calmly laid on the bed, as it was finally the lady's turn to drink his milk.